Night Owls.
Turn on Night Owls.
Now, the forerunner to Facebook, where your words tell 1,000 Instagrams. Use your phone for making that call. And get talking across the northeast, please. Because this is Night Owls with Alan Robson.
Hello everybody, how you doing? Here's hoping you're well, you and the entire family. Another night to cut through the BS and talk about what you want to talk about. And I thought I'd start off with something that I've noticed happening in pretty much everybody's households, including the households of the guys here. Little things that really pee you off. That's essentially where we're going tonight. Maybe because we're all locked up together, maybe because things aren't normal, maybe because things are the way they are, because maybe they're not necessarily this way, but we're being told because the government has special powers when it's in control like this, so it can tell us to do whatever the hell it wants without even asking Parliament, which is essentially stealing our freedom. But we do what we got to do to stay safe, don't we? Even though we're not sure what's true and what's not. So I thought the little things that pee you off. I'll give you a few examples. The same television commercials coming up over and over and over again. That blasted carrot with legs, right? A talking carrot with legs. Really? Christmas Clay and Christmas Lisa, because this year they're going to be Christmas Lisa. No. And she's not funny. Stop clapping at her. It's irritating. If you haven't seen the ads, watch out for them. The geeky Asda family. Ever seen this family from Asda? They've made a delivery of fruit and veg and he's applauding. What? Anyway. Tesco's traffic... Have you been to Tesco's lately? They've got a traffic light for human beings. We already know in Asda you've got to follow the thing on the path. You've got to... The arrow's going the other way. You're in the wrong direction. Traffic lights for human beings now. What happens if you need to do an emergency stop next to the mixed pickles? Problem. Also, something else that starts to pee you off because you're trapped in your little boxes. Neighbours who have been doing DIY on their property every day for 3 years and it looks like they're not likely to stop anytime soon. Little things. On their own, they're not a big deal. But when you're trapped in your little box, do not have change here. Lies from the government every day. Lies from the newspapers because they've got to print what the government tell them. Don't like that. Here's the thing. Car parks have been super busy because the lockdown is a joke. Everybody's out on the streets. They're treating supermarkets like they're theme parks. You go into a relatively empty car park and you park your car. There's 1 million spaces, but the next 2 cars will park either side of you, giving you 3 inches to get out. And another thing, the shop police. Don't walk that way, walk this way. Don't stand there, stand over. Don't be in this queue, be in that queue. Miss that queue. Don't stand there next to him putting your shopping in. You've got to be 3 away from... So what's got your dander up? Little things that are little, but they're big now. They're big, and they're getting bigger all the time. Little things that really pee you off. Boris is pledging normality by Easter, but he hasn't a clue. But he hasn't had since he got in. If the lockdowns are working, how come the figures have gone up on South Tyneside? Can't work then, can it? I've read this today. Britons who test negative twice in a single week, right, will get a pass that means they're free to go wherever they like at any time they like. They get a free pass for life. But if you look deeper into this, they're forcing you to get 2 tests. Give them your blood, give them your DNA. And if you give them it twice, they'll give you your freedom back. Do you have any clue how sick that is? Oh dear. You can also expect the coldest weather since 2010. Arctic blasts we're hearing. And England's lockdown is tougher after this lockdown ends, while Europe is getting on with business. Is this an excuse to hide the effects of Brexit? Now that the government has realised it'll be horrific, they just told us this week in small print, because everybody's talking about COVID, that we get 80% of our fruit and vegetables from Europe. And there's bound to be a shortage. 80% shortage. Unless there's a deal. Boris says he's going to scrap the 10 p.m. pub and restaurant curfew until after the new year. Then will it come in heavy again? I don't know. Let's have your views, please, on Britain's most listened to. Let's get cracking. We have an awful lot to talk about. The global pandemic is over, we're hearing. So why are we still pretending it's getting worse? Yeah, they said that the international pandemic is over. So why are we locking down and going to get tougher? If it's over, 2 Oxford professors say masks don't work at all. In fact, they say it makes it worse. They've both been banned from Facebook for saying it. 7,000 Jewish scholars ignored compliance in New York City. I don't know whether you heard that story, but will not be prosecuted in case it looks anti-Semitic. Now, I'm not anti-Semitic in any shape or form, but irrespective of what group of people it is, if any other group had ignored it, surely something would have been done to try and stop them. Let me have your views, please. 0191 488 3188. Get your calls in right now. I would love to hear from you. Dozens of people, including myself, believe that we had COVID last year because I lost my sense of taste, was a bit sniffly, had headaches, a bit chesty for about a fortnight, which seems to fit with, the general crack. That was last October into November, and everybody was just getting on as normal. So what's different about now? Same time of year, roughly. Well, what's the difference? Well, I still don't get it. Islamic death squads target a 14-year-old girl for fleeing on an arranged marriage, just to show how petty extremists of any kind are. Love your views on that. Harry Styles pictured wearing a dress, copying David Beckham, copying David Bowie, copying John Lennon, and so it goes. 4 self-employed people kill themselves because their businesses have been ruined by the government. And found her husband bonking her husband, right? Her husband bonking her mother, should I say. Have you ever caught What's your view? Give us a call. Welcome back, Facebook and YouTube and everybody else watching. We've just had a bit of jiggery pokery to do, but the jigger has worked and a good poking seems to have solved it. So, the National Health Service bed numbers fall to an all-time low, but there's still hundreds of thousands of empty beds. If we're in the middle of this massive pandemic, how come we've still got beds in our hospitals, and plenty of them, at a time when people in hospital is at an all-time low? Think about what that means, at an all-time low. So why the hell are we locked down? Shackled. Also, what's your best ever deal been? As you know, I got Hollywood McShane and Chris Felton at a jumble sale, and they were not expensive. It was, change, but high change, I have to say. What's the best ever deal that you've got? Because Black Friday is coming and everybody's saying, Black Friday, Black Friday. Oh, gotta have something on a Black Friday. Anybody actually got a really good deal? Or is it not really a good deal once you've actually paid for it? Pick up your telephone, 0191 488 3188. Talking to the stars, as always, but more importantly, we want to talk to you. Got another song for you to identify. I'm going to give you 4 words from a massive hit. An irritating hit, but a massive one. If you can work out the name of that song, I will provide you with a copy of Grizzly Tales from Northumberland. And that's just out now. And I'll also let you have one of these Night Owls mugs, okay? Night Owls. Proud and true and almost chipped again. So, if you want all of that, hang on in there. We're going to be playing you some corking music because we are Greatest Hits Radio Northeast. And we would love to hear from you. 0191 488 3188. Now, when I was at Newcastle Playhouse, I mentioned this years and years ago on the show. I was at Newcastle Playhouse as just a little boy, little lad. And we were there to go into the main auditorium for some school conference thing. And playing a gig in the bar was 2 guys, one playing the bongos, one playing a guitar. Corkscrew hair. It was Mark Bolan and Steve Peregrine Took, calling themselves Tyrannosaurus Rex. I thought, that's a bit weird, but I was quite into it. And blimey, didn't they do well?
This is the home of Alan Robson's Night Owls.
With the voice of the North.
Greatest Hits Radio.
And thank you very much for bearing with us. We are just waiting, censorship foot. If you can remember the old Monty Python show, every now and then a huge foot would just come and squash everything. It's a matter of time, I think. Anyway, let us crack on while we still can. Two things have come up. First of all, William Walton says, Alan, this lockdown is destroying the UK economy, the like of which we haven't seen since Margaret Thatcher, and the numbers keep changing. The way things are going, Boris is going to cause a civil war. Is that possible in this green and pleasant land where we're all obeying, we're all touching our forelock saying, yes, sir, whatever you say, sir? That's where we are at the moment. In Germany, they're rioting in the streets. And Craig asks an important question. There you go. He says, when it comes to toilet paper, fold or scrunch. Now, you see, this is one of the issues of the day. Now, in my experience, and I've visited the latrine on many occasions, I'm a folder, a natural folder. However, if you end up having a swampy one, you might need a wet wipe. It's the modern way. But you can't put them down the toilet, otherwise it clogs it up and you create a poo berg in the pipes under your house. So again, Kenny, you've got to put it in a degradable, but it's a right faff. Anyway, let's crack on. Tell you the things you do to keep your nooks and crannies clean. It's never simple. Kelly from Carlisle is next. How did we get onto that so soon? We're renowned for our toilet talk on the Night Owls. Just didn't think we'd get there first in. Anyway, yes, Kelly. Hello, Kelly.
Hello, Alan.
Hello, folder scrunch.
Scrunch.
Scrunch? Ooh. Do you not ever get your fingers in it?
No.
Okay. Well done you. It'll stop you biting your nails anyway. Hey, what was the reason you called, in any case?
It's basically the government. When they're interviewing on the TV and the press is asking them a question, so if it was an answer to Boris Johnson, he starts to stutter and then he pauses for a minute and then he passes it on to his other colleague and then he starts to stutter and they just don't know what they're talking about.
If somebody came, this is something that I've noticed right from the very beginning. If you ask somebody a question and they look you straight in the eyes and they say, as far as I know, this is the situation, we've got to do that, you're in safe hands. It's kind of like good bedside manner from a doctor. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And we just haven't got it. And there's an advert on the time. We talked about things that really pee you off. There's an advert at the moment. Have you seen the one where it's got... is it something like maybe written on your neck?
I haven't seen that one.
They've got this, they're right on the neck and they're right on this bloke's belly. And it's like, and what they say to you is, oh, you're not sure what these things are, but talk to your doctor because it might be cancer. And you think, whoa, what you should say is if there's anything happening to your body that's not normal, have a chat with your doctor. I'm sure they can sort it out. You don't frighten people to death.
No.
And that's what they're doing. But that's also what they're doing, coincidentally, with the whole COVID thing. We're going to tell you about 3 months ago, they were talking about, coming up to Christmas, we could have 400,000 deaths in this country. 400,000. That's terrifying. And how many have there been? About 1,000. You know, there's a hell of a difference between those two numbers. And even if flu was bad this year, and it's not, nobody's talking about flu because they're putting it all down for COVID. If flu was bad, we'd have more than that. So what are we doing? I want us all to be safe. I don't want to put anybody at risk. Just what they're telling you doesn't add up. It just doesn't add up.
Well, if you see, my stepdad's a taxi driver,
Right.
and he was talking to a nurse who was off duty, and she was saying basically there's been no cases in Carlisle or anywhere else. So the government are basically being drama queens and making everything the way they shouldn't be, basically.
Well, let's say, just for sake of argument, that any place in the northeast or the northwest, as in the case of Cumbria, if, let's say, Carlisle hasn't had anything, everybody
Yeah.
should be just getting on with a thing then, shouldn't they?
Yeah, they should. I know a lot of people who have actually lost their jobs because of it.
Right.
Because
all
the
over the
company
place.
can't afford paying the taxes or whatever.
Well, they can't pay people for doing nothing. That's
No.
the root of it. And you're not allowed to have this shop open and that shop open and that one. You can't sell non-essentials and what have you. And then, you can all go back to work. Oh, it didn't work. You're all got to go out again. And during the lockdown, the figures they claim are going up.
Yeah,
So
but it
so
isn't.
what's the point of the lockdown then?
Yeah, I know. And it's not good for people who have got mental health and anxiety. I suffer with mental health and anxiety, and the way the government's going, it doesn't help.
Right.
Because it's making people with mental health think of, well, what's the point of being here?
Right.
I'm going to be closed in. I've got no family, such and such. And basically, that's when there's a lot of people who've done suicide because of it.
Well, when I was doing a nightly show, you can, and this is nothing to do with me, it's to do with you guys out there. We created this community where, worst case scenario, late at night, if you had any issues of any kind, not just mental health issues, but just issues, or you were just lonely, you could be in the middle of this busy community where there's loads of different voices talking about loads of different stuff. And if you wanted, you could ring in or you could send a message or you could be part of this thing.
Yeah.
And they've stolen that up and down the country, not just the show that I did, but all the other shows. It's almost like they don't want the public to have any medium where they can unite. And that's scary.
Yeah,
That's
it is.
scary in itself. And even if it wasn't me, if it was other people who had this community, and okay, you can do little social media-y ones, but you need something just to act as the glue for it, as the reason to be. And they've taken that from people, and it's sinful. Sinful
Yeah,
because
I agree with that.
the late night people want something to hang on to. You know, they need a rock to just cling to and say, well, I'm going to be all right because I'm listening to this, and oh, that's an interesting point of view. Oh, I don't know what I think about that. It just gives them something to hang on to, because the emergency teams aren't coming out anymore for a lot of these people. You know? And doctors and nurses don't want you.
No, they don't.
Scary time. Scary. How have you and your family managed then, Cam?
Absolutely fine. But my mum, my stepdad, he works with kids with learning disabilities, so he's a taxi driver.
Right.
And my mum's like a taxi assistant, so he works with my mum.
Right.
And at the minute, because she's only got one child who's on the bus with them,
Right.
basically they're struggling.
No, I bet. I bet.
The company they're working for, they're actually thinking about quitting, like basically claiming claiming bankruptcy because of that.
Oh, no.
You know.
Yeah. They're not alone. I just hope we can get over the peak of it, get a bit of common sense back so we can get back to being us again, because we've become this other thing, and it's worrying because there's some kids growing up thinking that this is how people behave, you know. It's normal to wear a mask. It's normal to not to be threatened by everybody that comes your way. And that's not Britain to me, man.
No, it's just with the kids with the special needs, they don't understand, so they'll be wondering, well, why they got masks on. You know,
Yeah, bless them.
they don't understand, so...
Tough times for everybody. But stay well, Kelly. Thank you for coming on. Respect your views. Thanks for calling in, love.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. Bye-bye. Kelly and Carlisle, the lockdown and annoying things. There's plenty to be annoyed about. Apparently there's a few people, who's this? Edwin wants to set up a Just Giving page so they can buy me a radio station. That would be brilliant. I don't know how long we'd survive. It wouldn't be for the want of listeners, but they want to silence us, so maybe they will. I'll fight. But who knows? Who knows? Chris is... Oh, hang on. There was something about the New World Order came in. This is David Bowater. Get people dependent on the state so that you're getting all your money from the state, then crash the economy. That is a way of doing it. And Jane from Wickham says that thing written on the neck and the belly is the word just. Because people say, oh, it's just it's just a lump on the breast. It's just a bit of pain in my tummy. And then all of the adverts say, don't just think about that. It could be cancer. You could die. As I said before, what happened to bedside manner? If you got a lump, the way to say it is, if you got a lump there, chances are 95% it'll be benign. It'll not be any issue. It's just a bit of lumpy fat that people get under their skin from time to time, or it'll be a cyst. Nothing that, for you to worry about. Heaven forbid that it is. If you catch it early, happy days. But no, but you're going to die. What's wrong with this bloody country at the present moment? 0191 488 3188. Let's talk to somebody else. Chris, it is. County Durham. Hello, Chris.
Hi, well, good to hear from you here.
Bless you, man. What can we do for you?
I just want to talk to you about the economy.
Oh, have we got one at the moment?
Yeah, there's definitely an economy. There always is.
Oh, go on then. Tell me about it.
Well, I rang you a few weeks ago and I told you the economy was about to change massively.
Absolutely.
And I'm seeing more and more evidence of this as the weeks go by. Have you heard of Bitcoin?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Well, do you know how much a Bitcoin's worth now? For one Bitcoin. No,
I haven't. I'm not into all of that. I haven't got enough money to worry about it, but do tell.
It's about £20,000.
One Bitcoin is 20 grand. Hell's
yeah.
teeth, really. Right.
The thing is, right, if you knew where to buy Bitcoin 10 years ago,
right,
you could have bought it for, say, £100, and you would have made 20,000. Wait,
yeah, 20 grand.
£900.
Wow.
But the thing is, with Bitcoin, you can't just go to the pub and buy a pint with a Bitcoin.
Right.
You can't go and buy some cigars with a Bitcoin.
Are you going to trade them like on the stock market kind of thing, are you?
Well, I would say you have to, if you want to buy Bitcoin, if you've got £20,000, you don't have to pay the full 20,000. You can still buy it you can maybe put £100 in and say, I want to buy £100 worth of Bitcoin.
Yeah, but it's just a tiny little, like, a percentage of it.
Yeah,
right.
Percentage, and you can trade it on later and that. But
right.
One thing about Bitcoin, it moves like the gold and silver market's moving. Goes up and down.
Right.
And it's just shot up. From the moment it was made, it's shot up. So if you've got a Bitcoin, you've got £20,000.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you've got nothing to spend it on, basically.
Yeah.
You say what can you buy? You can't go out and buy some spaghetti hoops or...
No, the thing that it reeks to me, it's one of those things that if you've got... at a time like this, I'm sad for the people that are suffering and losing their jobs, and their furloughs come to an end and they thought, oh, the furlough was really good, but they haven't got a job to go back to, and that's massive all over the country. It's just, Bitcoin to me was something that if you're a millionaire and you've got £200,000 or £300,000 that you don't need at the immediate moment, buy a load of Bitcoin. Oh, I've made a huge profit. I'm now a multi-millionaire, not just a millionaire.
Yeah.
But your average man and woman in the street, they might have a few percentages of Bitcoin, but how many people have actually got 20 grand's worth? I would imagine it tends to be the richer folk, not the hard work and front line.
That's right. That's exactly the position I'm in, because I know a little bit about money.
Right.
I've always followed money for the past 7, 8 years now.
Right.
And I've seen this Bitcoin come in and absolutely shoot up. But the thing is, you can't buy anything with it.
Right.
You know, I mean, unless you're rich, like you say, unless you've got £1 million and you've got money.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. They go on and they'll trade their Bitcoin for whatever it's worth at the moment, and the people buying it will think, well, it'll go up eventually and I'll make 10%, 15%, 20%, whatever. It's a game for the wealthy. Yeah, and once again, the rest of us get shut out shut down, made unemployed, or working 1 day a week, and you just got to struggle on while the rich are getting richer. We heard right at the very beginning of COVID that Rees-Mogg had trebled his not his income, his actual portfolio of things had gone up something like 230%, while everybody else was going down the toilet. That tells you all you need to know. The rich are getting richer. The rest of us are in a tricky situation at the moment. Where do you think it's going to go from here then?
Like I said, I'm still convinced there's going to be a new economy. I'm not saying it's going to be Bitcoin. I definitely think it won't be Bitcoin. But with us poor people who are struggling in debt, which most people are,
absolutely 100%.
We're going to have to get a new economy, get used to this new economy, whatever it is. But I don't think it's going to be the same as what it is now.
No, it's being forced on us too. That's the thing. And it's not like we got any choice. We're going to have to put up with whatever we're given, which is a scary place. But Chris, thanks for coming on. Good to hear from you again. Thanks a lot, man.
Cheers, Al.
Cheers, Al. Bye-bye. There you go. Now, a little piece of something rather gorgeous and groovy, I think. I'm going to play you... hang on. We've got... yes, David from Sunderland, I think, is coming up next. Hello, David.
Hi, Alan.
Hello, sir. What you got for us?
What about the COVID vaccinations?
Uh-huh.
Well, at the moment, they've got 3 that they're saying are viable, and the British government's buying from all 3 suppliers.
That's what we're hearing.
And they want us all to have them.
Yes, that's true. What do you think? Do you want to have one?
Well, my personal thing is, I think if Boris and all the members of Parliament have it first,
right,
and then we're in the position to know, well, they've done it, it must be okay.
I think it would be really funny, mind, if, Boris was giving it, looking a bit flustered like he always does, and then he just vanishes behind the desk and he comes up like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. That would be really funny. But are you not worried about this? Because what they're saying is, whether it works or whether it doesn't work, because it hasn't, let's face it, it hasn't gone through the 3 years trials that every drug in this country has to go through.
Yep.
And they're also telling us that if there are any side effects, they're down to you, because they've taken all liability off it. Most drugs, if you buy it and you have a problem, you can sue the drug company. They're saying you can't sue them if you take it. It's on your own head, be it. So no matter what happens to you from this point on, it's all on you.
Yeah.
But everybody should take it. Really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at thalidomide.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Bless those people.
Devastated thousands of people's lives.
Awful.
And there's still people living with the consequences of it.
100%. 100%.
And they want us to, they're saying they've done the tests, which you've only got to believe what they're telling you, basically.
Well, they've done the tests. Now, the best they can say is they've been having a look at this for 9 months. Now, you got to remember, for the first 4, 5, 6 months, they didn't have anything to go on. They've only had that in the last 2, 3 months.
Yep.
So the best they can do is we've tried it over a few months. Best case scenario. Yeah, not like we've actually been working on this for years, because they haven't. So they've only got a very few test results, and it looks like it's positive. I read in one of the newspapers over the weekend that a nurse has volunteered to trial it herself for the first time. Good luck, Pet, because... but you see...
I mean, they've been doing live trials, because you get people who
volunteer
for these things.
Sure.
There was a thing 2 or 3 years ago where they were doing tests, and there was nearly a dozen of them died.
Yeah.
If you remember.
Absolutely. But that is what happens. And it's kind of like, if you remember, and I know this is not exactly connected, but vaping. At the very beginning, everybody says, it's going to stop you smoking. And if you stops you smoking, it'll be better for you than the worst effects of tobacco and nicotine and all of that. Now in America, they're putting adverts on the TV saying, if you've been vaping and you're suffering this, and this, contact this number. We're going to sue the company on your behalf. Because the end result of what you get from vaping over a long period of time, they hadn't trialled and tested. But they wanted people to stop smoking, so to hell with the tests, just put it out there.
Yeah.
It's dodgy. It's just dodgy. But the other thing is, it's kind of like the flu vaccine. I don't know whether you were offered the chance to have the flu vaccine.
Yeah, I've been offered it, never had it.
Every year I got it. The only year that I had the flu was the year I took the blasted vaccine. Do I want to take... I'm healthy, I'm fit, I've got the good temperature, I can taste all my food, happy days, touch wood and all the rest of it. But do I want a vaccine? No. I'm all right, thank you very much. I don't want to put chemicals in my system because my system at the moment is champion. Thank you very much.
Me too. I read something online, and I don't know whether it's genuine or not, but they were saying that if you refuse the vaccine, you might end up with restrictions where you can't travel and you can't do this and you can't do that.
Yeah. We're hearing what they're suggesting is that if you want to travel abroad, you've got to have 2 private tests. You can't go to the National Health Service and get tested. You've got to go and pay separately for 2 tests within 72 hours of you flying. And you've got to be able to show them when you get there, and they've got to give you a temperature test and all the bits and pieces. So the vast majority of people won't be going. And anybody who doesn't want to be tested because they don't want people to have their DNA, because this is a human rights issue. They're never ever going to travel again by the sound of things. It's the whole thing's shady, and I haven't got to the bottom of it yet, but I'm going to keep digging until we do.
And I mean, there's just been on the news tonight, they're talking about having a 5-day amnesty, basically, for Christmas.
Yeah, 5 days, right? Can you imagine the shops for those 5 damn days? And I know that the vast majority of shops, and I mentioned this earlier, have you noticed that the shops are like 500% busier now than they ever have been? And I know it's coming up to Christmas and all of that, and it gets busy. They're really going to town. It's like they're treating... a day out, like you'd go down the coast, but instead we're going to have a whole afternoon in Asda. I'm going to Tesco Extra for crazy.
This is just for the Christmas celebration, Christmas, so your families can come round. I mean, you've got this ends on the 2nd of December, and the thing is, if the government's not going to allow these shops to open, they're all full of Christmas stock that they can't do anything with.
Yeah, absolutely.
No,
I hear that. But this 5-day amnesty essentially is to shop. But
no. This is so you can go and visit your family. And they're talking about having 3 families that will be able to meet. So you can all turn up for your turkey on Christmas, and you can all die of COVID in January.
That's a cynical way to look at it, but who the hell knows? The fact is the numbers have been going up even during the lockdown. So what's?
Well, that's because people aren't following the rules. These places like Scarborough, where they've got the high, if people were following the rules, this wouldn't be happening. But like I'll just pop next door to see so and so. In that bubble, you shouldn't be having anything to do with them. Yeah. I know, but I know them, and they haven't been.
Yeah.
And this is where it's all coming from.
Well, I see people along the street where I am, and down the bottom end, there's a particular neighbour who's always out doing the garden. Nothing wrong in that.
No.
And then he goes out for a jog with his mates. No social distance because they're all on their bikes together, hooting up the road. No social distance. Then they come back and they stick the bikes in the back of one of their vans and they have a chat and a cup of coffee in the garden, just over the garden fence while they're putting all their stuff away. But everybody says, yes, you can stay fit and healthy and do your jogging and all of that, but you should be social distancing. There's no social distancing. I saw a group of about 20 cyclists all together pedalling up the road within about a foot of one another, all having a chat.
And you've got 3 at the front and all the ones behind breathing there.
Hey, you see what it is. It's just, as a lockdown, it ain't much of a lockdown, is it really?
It's a joke. I mean, my son lives in New Zealand, and he says when they're locked down, the only thing open was the pharmacy and the supermarkets.
Yeah.
Nothing. No chip shops, no takeaways. You couldn't go anywhere.
Mm-hmm. But do you remember first time round? I remember driving down the A1 to come to work, not a car on the road.
Yep. I mean, I live close to the town centre, and the first time, because you get loads of people, it's a park and permit area, but loads of people's got permits.
Yeah.
And when they locked down, there was three cars in the street
Yeah.
for about the first 6 or 7 weeks.
Yeah.
And now it's just full capacity, just the same.
I think they've realised what they can get away with, and they're getting away with as much as they can. That's the thing. But you're quite right. You're quite right,
That's
David.
the thing. They're not getting away with it, Alan, because that's why
it's perpetuating. I know. I hear you. I get it, man. Hey, thanks for coming on, David. Good to hear from you. Furlough, yes?
Yeah. How long do they think the government is not going to excuse me, are going to be able to sustain paying people to be off? It's going to come to a point where they haven't got the money. I mean, they're borrowing and borrowing and borrowing.
Yeah, and beyond that, you do know that the vast majority of people that went on furlough last time, something like 70% lost their jobs. So as soon as somebody hears the word furlough, first time round they thought, oh, how fantastic. I'm going to be at home, 80% of my wage, champion. Yep. But it's another thing when they say you're on furlough, but you might never go back to work. I mean, that's a different dance altogether.
And that's one of the things with Brexit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're coming out, if we won it,
mm-hmm.
we'd be supporting half of Europe. Because Spain's got no money, Italy's got no money, France is struggling, Germany's struggling.
But they do have 80% of our fruit and vegetables. So I don't know where that's ultimately going to leave us food-wise. All very good us doing a deal with Canada, who doesn't provide us any of our fruit and vegetables. But it's going to be an interesting and terrifying time for an awful lot of people.
And I don't think it's going to be happening clear in the next 6 months.
Who knows?
I think we're going to be well under this time next year before there's any...
It is looking like that, that's for sure. But thank you for calling again, mate. All the
best.
best.
No problems. I'll next chat to you again.
Always a pleasure. Okay, let's talk about something different, but something stunning and superb. I'm going to have a chat with Queen's Roger Taylor about the giant who is and was Freddie.
Round about that time, when you were aware that a slide into a new adventure was on the cards for Freddie, how easy was it? Because I've spoken to many people who have had a relative who they knew didn't have a lot of time, and have had to go and face it and try and be happy and try and be up when inside you're twisting up.
Well, there was obviously an undercurrent of tragedy at the time, but he was so positive and so, come on, we've got to get some work done because I'm going to pop off any moment. I mean, he would literally put it like that.
Well, man.
So we would go and that's why we worked quite hard at the end, because that was what was keeping him going in a way. That he needed to be interested in something else at the end. And
so was he literally laying down tracks that he knew would not be out until?
Oh yeah,
until
absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's a gutsy thing to do.
He was a very positive guy. He was he was great to be around.
voice of the North.
Alan Robson's Night Owls, the phone-in that gets you talking.
Greatest hits radio.
And Ann Cumson, being very, very kind, says if the media had any compassion at all, they'd let you do some more nights on Night Owls. Even if it was only until this nightmare is over. You've saved many lives before, and I'm sure you would now. One night is not enough. Thank you, darling. That's how I feel about it, but we are merely pawns in a game, and you do what you're told. Jane from Wickham said that thing written on people's neck was just, but I have to mention Craig Tuck because he's a funny guy. First of all, he said, what did the Willie say to the condom? Cover me, I'm going in. Okay, thank you. And the other thing, and I thought this was the funniest, he says, am I the, he was talking to his girlfriend apparently, and he said, am I the only one you've been with? She says, yes, the rest were 7s or 8s. Brilliant. And Neil apparently was really disappointed when he discovered that Screwfix wasn't a dating site. But anyway, let's crack on. Because, as you know, you've got a chance to win the Night Owls mug. You also can win a copy of Grizzly Tales from Northumbria. What a fine-looking book. And I'm actually a fan of the bloke who wrote it. So, that is available right now on Amazon. And Northern Heritage is the publishing company that's looking after me. So, if you want a copy of the book and... There they are together. And the Night Owls mug... All you have to do is tell me the name of a massive greatest hit. It's an irritating beggar. The first clue is James Bond has 2 of these before 7. James Bond has 2 of these before 7. Okay? So write that down. That's your first clue. You'll have 3 more clues. When you hear the 4th clue, race to the telephone and tell us the name of this tune if you can work it out. You've got clue 1, 2, 3, 4. Stick around, I'll tell you more. That's another little hint while we're on with it. Let's get cracking, for Chris is waiting ever so patiently in Wheatley Hill. Hi, Chris.
You all right?
I'm champion, mate. What you got for me?
Just going on about this corona carry-on. I read last week before, whatever, the think tank saying people over like 19 grand are going to have to pay more tax, and then it's come out last week. It looks like the public sector workers are going to get shafted. Now, how is that fair when public sector workers, they said the health NHS workers will be exempt from that, but essentially people like yourself, we're going out to work when we're supposed to be staying at home.
Yeah.
This government slogan that says stay at home, but then there's about 10 million exemptions where you've got to go out, which contradicts itself. Yeah. We're going to be the ones paying all this back, and I just think it doesn't add up, mate. I think there's a lot of people out there who are in unfortunate circumstances, and we do need to help them. But you can't tell me, this furlough scheme is just getting abused massively. And it's people who are out on the front line who are essentially going to have to pay for this, and it's just like, it's bang out of order.
Well, yeah. You got to remember, throughout history, it's always the little guy and Guy-S who get shafted. And
it's unbelievable.
This will be no different. But you see, to me, like I said before, with rich people doubling their wealth. Now, I don't know about you. If I was lucky enough to be someone with £10 million in the bank, would I spend it? Well, I'd have a ruddy good crack. I'd have a try, absolutely. But if somebody who's got that kind of money and they've already got businesses and big houses and all the cars and all the wealth that they could possibly need in a lifetime, if they double their money, why can't they put their hands in? Because it's extra cash they've got, but they'll not.
We had Premier League football clubs taking advantage of the furlough, Alan. I'm a public sector worker in the North East. I'm not handsomely paid by any stretch of the imagination, but my reward for going out when I'm told to stay at home is to get a pay freeze, inevitable tax rise, and the inevitable 4% council tax rise. Now, how is that exactly a thank you well done for your work, and thanks for keeping things going.
Well, I remember the government, and Boris in particular, saying, I will find a way to make sure that public sector workers are rewarded for putting their lives on the line, for being out at risk, for being on the front line, and all of that. And then at the end of the first lockdown, he said, "Oh, well, it'll not be with a pay rise." Well, what are they going to give you?
It's exactly why I know what we're going to get. We're just going to get a pay decrease, really, and it's not fair. I mean, the whole thing's a mess at the minute. This lockdown carry on. I mean, my local supermarket in Peterlee on Friday, it's the busiest I've ever seen it. For a long time, I was went for a drive down Hartlepool today, down the headlands. That was absolutely ram-jammed. Ironically enough, when I'm driving to work down to Middlesbrough on the A19 from up Peterlee way, the two busiest days I've experienced were the first 2 days of lockdown on a workday morning. It's a mess, really, to be perfectly honest with you. It's not.
How are we going to get out of it then?
Why, I think it's just depend on this vaccine. I mean, I know people are for and against the vaccine, but the question is, are we really in it? Because there's people out there at the minute who you can just blatantly tell they're just fed up with it now, and they're like, I don't give two hoots anymore. And I mean, you have to look, like I say, today down the headlands, it was absolutely ram-jammed, as the Peterlee Friday, ram-jammed.
It's like people have said to themselves,
busy on the morning.
I just get the impression, though, that people have said, there's so many exemptions, nobody's actually really taken this seriously, except, well, everybody's usually got a mask on in a supermarket, usually. And other than that, everybody's just doing their own thing. I'm going for a walk, I'm taking the family down the beach, I'm taking the dog for a walk, and as long as I've got a dog or I'm having a jog, I can get away with anything that I choose. And takeaways are chocker in all directions.
The rules make no sense. I mean, I can't have my mother around for a couple of years. My house is up for sale at the minute, and now viewings in my house. It makes no sense.
So people come and they just have a look around and then leave?
That's it, That's how it works. That's how it's worked during lockdown so far.
So you can't mix with anybody, but here's a couple of strangers that you don't know.
Basically, that's how it works. That's the rules. So it's mental. And it's all a mess. But this payback, I think it's just going to get a bit silly, to be perfectly honest here. I think we need to get a grip, really. Every time you're putting the telly on at the minute, people's wanting something. It's going to be the workers who ultimately have to pay this back, which I don't mind paying me taxes. You've got to pay your taxes for the NHS and stuff like that. But there comes a point where you think, why? Where's the line here? When does everyone else start taking some responsibility and have to start paying a little bit back as well? Because whether people like it or not, there's a lot of people getting a lot of money off the government at the moment.
Yeah.
And
my view of this is, and I understand it, in the whole furlough thing, I'm surprised that the government have held doing it for the length of time that they have, because they keep claiming they've got no money. But once again, just to get back to rich folks. Now, I understand a lot of people can be wealthy for a lot of reasons. Maybe they're brilliant at what they do. Maybe they play the stock market and they're tremendously talented. Who the hell knows? But people like Rees-Mogg doubling how much they get, to me, 1 million from somebody like that should stop 40 or 50 National Health Service workers having to pay any extra.
Well, that's it. I mean, like, I was watching the football today.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of it, to be honest, with the Premier League football, but the commentators are already pushing out this narrative the players are tired and stuff like that. And I mean, man, bit of perspective here. There's people wiping crap and all sorts up in hospitals, care homes for about £8 an hour at the minute, and what happens if they turn around and say, "Oh, I need a rest, I'm tired"?
Absolutely.
Do they just shut the care home, shut the NHS, and shut the fire brigade, shut the police down because they want the rest? No, they just get on with it, don't they?
Absolutely.
These people aren't getting 200 grand a week, are they? But ultimately, it's going to be these people who have to pay everything back. You can see what's coming. It's just a mess.
It is, absolutely.
Total mess.
100%. Hey, good hearing from you. Chris, thanks for your views. Strong.
No bother. Take care.
We love them. Thank you. I love ordinary people having a say, and they're trying to stop it nationally. And internationally, I noticed a couple of colleagues of mine in America with talk shows have been given their marching orders, and you think, but hang on, they got amazing ratings and stuff, but they've gone too. It's just not a coincidence anymore, and that's kind of worrying, but hey-ho. And again, kind of like what the last call Chris was saying, you cannot say, oh, poor me. You just got to get on and do what you can and try and look after your family any which way you can, and it's not easy, and it's not going to get any easier either. Let us talk to an amazing name, this, I have to tell you. It's from Oldham, Hadrian Richards. Blimey, I wonder if the wall was named after him. Hello, Hadrian.
Hello, yeah.
There's not many Hadrians we get, despite having a
wall,
a fine wall, absolutely.
Yeah, that's spelling, yeah. It's actually a middle name, that, but it's the name I use, because I'm an artist, it's the name I use for my artwork.
Brilliant.
But it is actually my real middle name. My dad was a fan of Roman history.
Oh, brilliant.
So that's how I get that name, yeah.
Good to hear from you anyway. So, yeah, you ringing in. You're an artist and designer, I gather.
I am, yeah.
Tell me everything then.
Well, what's happened with the lockdown, I mean, I've got family up in the northeast, West Europe area.
Right.
And with the lockdown, obviously, we can't travel to see grandchildren and what have you, so I've basically gone back to sketchbooks and photographs, and I've done quite a few kind of northeast-themed paintings over the lockdown.
Right.
And I sent a few to my son, who lives up in the northeast, and he's passed them on to a few friends, and somebody come along and said, oh, they'd be great on T-shirts.
Oh, wow.
Something I never really thought of in the past.
Yeah.
So I've basically contacted a couple of T-shirt companies, and through that, I've now got a contract with a T-shirt company, and they're banging them out, and they're going like hotcakes.
Fantastic.
And most of the ones that are selling are actually ones with the northeast theme to them. You know, I've done some of the Angel of the North, the bridges.
Right.
A couple outside St James's Park, one of the Alan Shearer statues. You know,
right.
So all this stuff now is going on T-shirts.
That's great.
And this has all come about through lockdown, basically, because it's something I once really thought about doing, you know.
I think it's a really brilliant idea, because if you think about it, if the football-y ones especially move a lot on Tyneside, where everybody's black and white mad, surely a bridge in Sunderland, the Monk Wearmouth Bridge, might go in Sunderland, Leeds, Liverpool, Manchester. You're opening a can of worms here, Hadrian.
Well, the wonderful thing about where you live, up in the northeast, you've got some fantastic bridges. You've got the lovely river. You've got the Angel of the North. You've got the lighthouse at Whitley Bay. You know, you've got some great things, great iconic things, which are very good for artists, really.
No, absolutely.
I mean, where I live near Manchester, there's nothing like that.
No, I've just been sent. Oh, there you go. I've just seen the one of the bridges over the Tyne. As a painting, it's a beautiful bit of work.
Oh, thank you.
You've got them all there. You've got the swing bridge a bit higher than it's ever been in its life, because it's the lowest bridge over the river. But behind it, you can see the Sage, and you can see the Tyne Bridge, and in the distance, the Millennium Bridge as well.
Yeah, the new one.
Yeah, brilliant. It's really good.
Oh, thank you.
From a T-shirt idea, though, I think, I'm presuming that would be, it could be any of our. There's boats up beside a dock somewhere.
That's Oosburn.
Oosburn, right?
Yeah, that was. I was there a couple of Christmases ago. My son's a conductor.
All right.
And he was conducting a choir at the Time Bar.
All right.
And he had to be there very early morning. So I went with him, just help him carry some of his PA equipment. And I just had to walk around the corner, and there was fog on the Tyne, which is a cue for a song.
It has to be, absolutely.
And there was like a little harbour with some boats. I did a couple of sketches, took some photographs, and I've now painted it. That one's actually been sold, and the woman who bought it, she said it reminds her of Amble.
Right, yeah, because we've got lots of little dribbles that occasionally, when it rains, become massive, mighty rivers.
Right.
But we've got lots of places where people dock. Come on, we're a northeastern coastal area.
But you wouldn't think that was in the centre of the city.
No, absolutely.
You know, I mean, it looks like it's like Cornwall. You know, it's,
and that is literally probably 6 minutes walk from the centre of Newcastle.
Yeah.
the Usburn.
So you're very lucky to have such, and of course you've got the Baltic and the Sage.
Sure. But you see, again with you, because you've got Liverpool's Liver Birds and the Cavern Club, and every big city, seems to have something that you could put on a T-shirt.
Well, yeah, that's true, yeah.
So, yeah, out of all of this COVID business, when everybody's going to the wall, you've just hit on something really special here.
Well, yeah, I think, yeah. Quite by accident. I mean, it was not intentional. It was just the fact that I had some sort of resources of up the northeast, and I couldn't travel, so I'll do a bit of painting. So
brilliant.
So yeah, so it's come out okay, you know. So
I've just got a feeling after a year or two of all of this success, the biggest Hadrian's Wall is going to be round your mansion.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Hey, well, we wish you well. If people are interested in, they want to have a look at your work, where should they go?
Yeah, if they go to redmolotov.com.
Hang on, Red Molotov.
Red Molotov, they're the people who are promoting this stuff. redmolotov.com. And if they search Hadrian Richards with a H, and all my stuff will come up. And amongst there, you'll see about 5 or 6 northeast-themed paintings, which are now being sold as T-shirts.
Fantastic. Hey, well, more power to your elbow. Good talking to you, Hadrian. Thanks for coming on, mate.
Well, thank you very much.
All the best. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye now. Bye-bye.
Hey, a bit of a success story in the middle of all of this kerfuffle. How about that? Time for another quick bit of music. I suppose we better have another superstar talking about stuff. So let's have the very nice and very friendly Paul Young talking about his success. You gave me one of my session highlights, and I've been lucky enough to sit in studios with the Bruce Springsteens and the Tina Turners and the Queens of this world, and yet you came in with one of your pals, and at the time you were going through your Three Amigos phase, and you gave me that ballad from the film.
Yeah, the Three Amigos.
It was just a glorious moment. So I still thank you for that, because it's one of the most amazing things I've ever cut.
Shadows on the trail.
Absolutely. I was nodding like the little tortoise all the way through it. It was fantastic. But I mean, you've had you seem to arrive. And I know you'd been in a couple of bands before, but when the success came, it must have hit you like a hammer, because you'd been kind of knocking on the door for a long time, and then all of a sudden you were there.
Yeah. Although, I was a long time waiting for it. When it arrives like a train.
Sure.
And it doesn't stop at the station, so you've got to jump on it and ride it. So
I would imagine, though, that first few months must have been a real kind of learning curve for you.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I was very lucky that I had the background I had with a little bit street band, but the majority of my learning curve was through the Q-tips about how to entertain a crowd. You know how teamwork is all about a band. You kind of have to channel. I remember George, who sang on Every Time We Go Away. He was one of the singers, and he said to me, "Our job, Paul, is to channel through you." He said, "You're the star, and so we work through you and we look to you." And I thought, that's it. Team spirit, and I learned all that stuff in the Q-tips, and that served me in good stead.
No, you did. When you did a cover, it became your song. And I think if you asked like 9 out of 10 people about half the tunes that you did that were covers, they'd all say that's a Paul Young song. I mean, even Tear Your Playhouse Down, which is a soul classic, and yet your version it takes some kind of voice to become the guy known for that song, and you made each one your own. It's amazing the ability that you seem to have, and the confidence to take something like that on straight away.
Well, it's really what I was doing was showing the power of arrangement, and sometimes I think to myself that there's something a little bit wrong in the balance of the way people get paid on this. Not that it matters anymore with streaming, because we get 0.00 something of a penny. Yeah. But back in the days of Frank Sinatra, Tony Bennett, etc., there would be the person that wrote the song, there would be the artist that sang the song, and there'd be the arranger, say Nelson Riddle, or I'm trying to think.
Quincy
of the guy
Jones,
that I
any of
really-
these big guys.
Quincy Jones, there's a load of them.
Yeah.
And so what happened was the record would sell, and the songwriter would, and so the artist would get that, and the songwriter would get money from that. The arranger would get money from selling his arrangements
Right.
on sheet paper and things like that.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen anymore. So the poor old arranger has been shoved out the picture. But basically, everything I've done through my career shows what a good arrangement can do. It can bring an old song back to life. It can actually improve a song if the first version didn't bring out the best qualities in the song.
Call Alan Robson's Night Owls now.
0191 488 3188.
This is real life conversation with the voice of the North.
Greatest Hits Radio.
That is exactly who we are. And Mission Christmas from our charity Cash for Kids is back. Once again, we're trying to make sure that every child in the glory that is the North wakes up to a gift on Christmas morning. 2020 has been very tough for a lot more children this year than ever before. Mission Christmas obviously wants to come in and fill that gap. Nobody wants to think of any child waking up with absolutely nothing. The good news is you can help that. Mission Christmas is a team effort. We need your help and your input for that. You can drop off a gift at any of our drop-off points across the area. And if you're a business and you want to get involved, please contact us and we'll sort you out. We'll get back in touch with you. So thank you very much. We know the times are tough, but if we team up together, Mission Christmas will make a huge difference with Cash for Kids. You'll see at many shops across the patch that there are collecting areas where you can leave any of the toys that you purchase. We will make sure that they find a really good home. Now, we have a lot of stuff to get into, but I have to say I'm a fan of Ted Johnson. Ted says, he's in Southampton. Good to have you with us, Ted. He says, I think it's hilarious that the main people complaining about not trusting the vaccine are the people who'll meet Kev from round the block with 2 teeth on the corner of the street for a bag of drugs. There you go. That's Ted for you. Didn't even know he'd been up to the North. He said, and William says, no help with support groups for adults with complex mental health needs and learning difficulties trying to cope on their own as the telephone and online services are at breaking point. Nurses, no pay rise, but MPs get a £3,000 extra. And we're allegedly billions in debt. Who are we in debt to? William, we're in debt to everybody. But don't expect any politician to ever pay a penny of it. And Timbo says, accidentally drank invisible ink. I'm now in hospital waiting to be seen. Oh, dear. I think you'll go on then. Give one of them. Let's talk to Edwin, who is in Gateshead. Hi, Edwin.
Hi, Alan. I've got a bit of a cough. I've got COVID, but it's not really what I want to talk about.
Okay.
I just think you did a great show, and I just wish somebody could set up a giving page so we could get the ball rolling. You give so much pleasure to everybody, that tunes in, and you're like the raw product, and people tune in to listen to what you give, and I would just like to hopefully that'll happen,
But bottom line is, I want you guys to look after yourselves and look after your families, because at the present moment, money's at a premium. How are you feeling?
Well, I'm off work. I'm be off for a while. I'm working in a factory on the valley, but it's shutting anyway.
Right.
But
how's it been for you, though? I mean, first of all, how did you find out you had COVID, or did you just get all the symptoms?
Off to work with it, and I just went for a test because my nose was running a lot.
Right.
I thought I might have just gone for a test, and there's a test centre at Shipcourt.
Right.
And I went there and got a test, and it's come back positive the other day. So.
Are you poorly, though, or is it just like standard
cough,
cold?
Just a bit of a cough and that, really, but apart from that, but like I say, it's just you really I wanted to talk about, like, because you, like I say, you give so much. And Metro have just, they're back like bullies in the playground, the way they've treated you.
Hey, that was yesterday. We've moved on. So.
It's disgusting, I think, like spoiled kids that just stuck their tongue out,
Hey, it was what it was. I managed to get a lot of years with them. I was very lucky, very fortunate.
I hope this station gives you the hours you need, like, because it's only fair.
Hey,
well. You owe that,
Hey, it is what it is, and I'll take what I can get, like everybody at the present moment.
I wish somebody just set up a giving page. I can get
no. There's far more people that need stuff rather than me. That should be the.
Fully how important you're a great bloke,
Well, it's nice of you to say. How you mentioned that your firm was closing down. It's shutting down for good, is it?
They make they repair pumps for the oil rigs and that, but it's closing.
Seamus.
But the work, I think some of the work's gone to Nottingham and up Scotland and that. But as far as I know. But
will you get redundancy then? Will you get any
well,
dodge?
I'm just cleaning there. I just clean there.
Hell's teeth.
But but like I say, they make pumps up. It's just what I've heard. So I'm hoping to get either set up on my own or start getting a job elsewhere with the company I'm with elsewhere. You know.
I hope so too, mate.
Because I was working at a garage before this, but I was working with a lad where he didn't seem to be pulling his weight, you know, and I was doing his bit and trying to do mine. So I needed to be away from that.
There's those kind of people everywhere.
I think he was just working his cell really, but
people get away with what they can.
I'm away from that now.
That's good news. Hey, stay well, look after yourself, get over this damn thing.
Aye.
And good luck to you, man. I hope you can find a new job.
Somebody starts up there and starts the giving page and makes it public where people can just give, you know. I'll certainly give what I can, mate.
No.
You deserve to do well. You and Hollywood, Machine and Chris and that, you know, you're great.
I just look after yourself.
The backroom staff.
Please look after yourself with your dosh. It's hard enough, man. Hey, seriously. Right, it's kind of you to say.
Thanks very much.
All the best, mate. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, jeez. I've just got to play this. so kind. I'm not worth that kind of love and loyalty. That hurt me. So I thank him kindly, though. Let's talk about other stuff. Got 3 more clues coming your way, and hopefully we're going to get a video call as well with somebody that you may well know, another local hero who wants to do something for Cash for Kids. So we'll try and sort that out. Let us talk to John, who is in Hentley Hall. Hi, John. Oh, hang on a second. You've come through on a very strange line. Let's make sure that you sound a bit better. Is that you, John?
Oh, yes.
There you go.
I thought that I was under the impression that it was your idea that you didn't want to do so many nights, Alan.
No.
No, all right.
No, it was like a move from 6 16-hour days to 4 hours on a Sunday. That's what happened. And to say that I had a choice about it was
all right.
Would be kidding it.
Anyway, that's not what I rang up about.
No problem.
What's this Bitcoin they were on about? What is it? A certificate or a share certificate or something?
It's an artificial currency that they've created, and you can buy Bitcoin in the same way you can buy gold, silver, or stocks on the stock market.
Oh, you can get them on the stock market, can you?
You can buy Bitcoin through the same people that sell you stocks and shares. Yes.
Yes.
Brokers usually. But
hey, Alan, I've noticed in the shop in Durham that they sell these quail eggs.
Quail eggs, yes.
So obviously, and I thought, well, that's a bird's egg.
It is.
I'm surprised. It's legal. That's right. You can sell it all right.
Well, they farm quail to lay their eggs because in some fairly posh restaurants, they serve things with quail eggs because they look like, if you get an ordinary fried egg, which is essentially about the size of the palm of your hand, if you're lucky, you can get a quail egg that looks terribly dainty and you could probably fit one on a 50 pence. So if you're making a posh meal and you want a little eggy something on it, get a quail egg instead of a big speckled hen's egg.
Oh, I see.
So it's not anything that we're going to go out and say, can I have a dozen quail eggs for me toast this morning?
No.
I don't think that's ever going to happen anytime soon. But it's for posher meals and posher restaurants, essentially.
Hey, Sunderland's not doing very well at the moment, are they?
No, sadly not. No.
No. They're not. I'm pleased somebody else has come in with another phone in, Alan, on the other station.
Right.
The chap who used to come on here. Am I allowed to mention his name?
No, well, not really, but but the bottom line is that's ending soon too.
Is it? It's on 4 nights a week anyway.
Well, for now, it'll be gone very soon.
Oh, I see.
Okay. Anything else then?
What was I going to ask you about now? No, I think that was it, Alan.
Okay, no worries.
That was it.
Good to hear from you, John. Thanks very much, mate.
Thank you. No.
Take care. Bye-bye. So there is John from Hentley Hall. And let's go to Alison, who is in Anfield Plain. Hello, Alison.
Hi there, Alan. How are you doing?
I'm all right, thank you kindly.
Good. Are you okay after just before?
I am, yes. It's just Kate.
Sending you a big virtual hug.
Thank you. Thanks. Don't go back to it. Press on.
We'll not go back there. Right.
Thank you.
There was a couple of things I was going to ring about. One of them is something that I'm doing with the business that I run, Leaving a Lasting Impression.
Uh-huh.
And what I'm trying to encourage people to do is to write about 2020.
Right, okay.
Is to basically start a memory box.
Right.
If they haven't already done so.
Uh-huh.
And write down their personal experiences of what's happened in 2020.
Right.
And how it's affected them and how things have changed for them and what it was like living through it. Because I feel that in 50 years' time, we don't know what the story's going to be out there. It's been so, what's going to be, portrayed in the media and what's going to be portrayed by the newspapers. And we don't know what's coming up in the future, do we?
No, not at all.
So I feel that it's really important that people start writing their personal experiences and in mass, not just one or two, a lot of people, so that in the future, people can kind of see what went on and how it was, rather than what it was kind of portrayed as by the media.
It's interesting because if you look at how history showed the Thatcher years in the Northeast, and I was in this seat during the miners' strike.
Yeah.
Well, not this seat, but a seat like this.
Yeah. Similar one.
But you know what I mean? Yeah. A slightly more downbeat seat. And the way that history looks back at that time, Margaret Thatcher, she conquered the unions, she conquered I don't remember that. No. I remember a lot of ruination and families being turned against their own families and all of that. I don't remember feeling, the government's conquered this afternoon. Never felt that, not for a second. No. I felt that the working people of the North were crushed, badly used, misinformed, divided and destroyed. That's my version of that.
Yeah.
And if we don't write down, and we didn't then, if we don't write down now what's happening here, whatever the government chooses to want us to do will be what is written.
Yeah.
I have no doubt about it at all.
We don't know what the outcome's going to be yet, because it's kind of like, well, we haven't got a clue, really. I don't think anybody has a clue of what's going to happen.
No.
And I just think if people personally take it on board, it's kind of like a memory box that I've made up, and it's just a journaling, just with a few different prompts.
Right.
To kind of ask, to say to people, like, how has it made you feel? What's changed for you? What's different? And so they can write that down, but keep it within their families. So it's not public knowledge. It's kept within their families and passed down through generations.
I've never been one of these people that, must put that in my journal. You know, like, I've never been good at it. I've never done it, never achieved it. Had a couple of books I try and keep up. I've got one now and I try to keep up. And you'll see, instead of going 21st, this happened, 22nd, it's like April, October. It's a bit jumpy and jaunty. But I agree with you. I think people should make a point of how they feel, what they've lost, have they gained anything? It's interesting, you know, because during the furloughs especially, I was getting a lot of good vibes from people saying, hey, this is pretty good. There's nobody in my family ill. I'm getting 80% pay, going off to the coast for a walk, taking the dog out. I'm doing all the jobs around the house that I haven't had time to do. This is champion. If it could be like this all the time, I'd be happy. And then about 4 months later, I was getting people saying, I've lost my job. What am I going to do? I'm 52-year-old. What the hell now? So it's funny, you know, how the time changes everybody's views and perspective around.
It really does. And it's kind of like everybody's circumstances are different. Everybody's individual experience is different.
Yeah.
Because it all depends, I think, on how much money you have in the bank. It all depends how much money you kind of can live on. Because people live to their means. So you've got people who, they had high-flying jobs and people think, they had a fantastic lifestyle. They haven't got much money in the bank. And when that all stops, they've got no money to pay their mortgage.
Well, what I've always believed is that about 70 to 80% of the people, I mean, talking about the real people here, not the knobs on the hill and not politicians and Premiership footballers. For your average man or woman, you're about 2 to 3 months' pay away from big trouble.
Yeah.
Big trouble. And that's everybody. And a lot of people have already had their 3 months. Their time is up. Yeah. And those that are on furlough, they've been getting 80% and they've been living well and putting a few quid away, maybe.
Yeah.
And that'll disappear within the first month and a half of them not having any job coming in, you know. And
that's like us. It's kind of, you think, all right, we're okay, but hubby lost his job and there's nothing coming in now. He's trying desperately to get another job, but the line of work he was in was quite bespoke. It was quite a niche.
Yeah.
And they just, that industry is just basically
gone,
disappeared. And you just think, okay, so what do you do now? And you go for like he's been applying for jobs that are nothing like what he's ever done before, but you kind of think like these firms that are delivering a lot of parcels and are wanting warehouse people, and yet you don't even get through the interview process.
Yeah, but also what they don't tell you is, I've seen a couple of, the police are one of them. There's 2 or 3 large companies looking for staff of one sort or another. Hospitals, 40,000 nurses short in the National Health Service. So there are vacancies to be had if you happen to have certain skills.
Yeah.
But for the majority of people, you're going for a job and you're one of 600 or you're one of 2,000 or you don't know how many other people are going for that same job, and you'll be lucky to get a reply, let alone a refusal.
Yeah, that's it. A lot of the jobs that like Rob's applying for, he's not even hearing anything.
Yeah.
And they kind of like, if you haven't heard anything within 4 weeks, just assume that you haven't got it.
Now, back in the day, but you see, I do actually understand that. Many, many, many years ago, I worked for the employment people, and I once asked this guy, the guy that we sent to you for a job interview, he hasn't heard anything back. And he said, we get on average about 300 to 400 people for each job. And if we send back first or second class a letter to these people, we wouldn't be able to continue as a factory. Yeah. And you think, it's still wrong. If you're going to give your time up to go, you should get it. Even if it's a quick phone call, it should be more than just waiting. Nothing comes through the letterbox. That's
I think
just
now
hellish.
with email, you can email batch.
Easier.
So
Absolutely.
we could email everybody who's sent an application form in to say that they haven't been successful.
Yeah.
So, but it's such strange times. I just think it's really important that we start to document it.
Right. Hey, no, can't argue with that. Anything else, Alison?
Well, the other thing I was going to talk about was things that are really ticking me off.
Oh, go for it.
To get back onto the COVID thing, just to kind of fire it up again.
Go on in.
It's schools. Schools are really, really starting to get on my goat in it. And I was one of the ones that was thinking like, oh, kids should have an education and this must be awful for families.
Yeah.
But I'm watching the way the kids are going on, and they've got their freedom and going to schools and mixing in their bubbles and whatever. You go to the shop when it's coming out of school time, and you're getting bombarded with all these kids that don't have masks on and don't have anything on and whatever.
Yeah.
And yes, that's questionable whether they need masks or whether the masks are even going to do anything.
Yeah.
But then I'm watching my friends that have got businesses that are going under.
Yeah. All over the place.
And I just can't.
You can't reconcile the two things. I see the kids. I saw a group of kids. I was parked in a shop car park, and I literally just pulled in. So I was rooting around for my mask before you could go in, obviously. And the school had just come out, and there was probably between 200 and 300 kids just coming, because the school's not far from this particular car park, flowing like a stream down the hill, arms around each other, clarting on. The two lovers separating themselves, having kissy poos on the way down, and you think that's how we all should be good. It's not a question of being jealous of them. It's just we should all be doing that right now. And would it make a difference to COVID? There's no proof to say it would or it wouldn't. It depends who you listen to.
Yeah.
But no.
So I just think if they're going to have the schools back, they should let even the little independent shops open, even if they're not going to let the big kind of massive not supermarkets, but like the bigger shops open. I think some of the little independent shops, like my friend's got a little gift shop, and literally, like she said, I could have appointments. People, my customers so like niche, and I know them all, and I could have appointments. So there's never more than anybody in the shop. But her business is just going down and downhill.
Yeah, but you see, that's why the theory comes out that the rich people who own big business want all the business. They don't want the little guys about. They want to squash all the little guys so the rich people can get richer, because the rich people own the big multinational chains. Mm-hmm. Now, there's an argument for that. I think it's all to hell if there is any truth in it at all, and who knows, but they're making money, and some of these big companies' shares are going up. Mm-hmm. Explain. How is that possible? Because they're playing around on the stock market, and they're always going to have money no matter what happens. Not like the rest of us who it's going to run out, and then what do we do?
That's it. It's kind of like what is going to happen. We keep saying I think crime is going to go through the roof.
Yeah.
Because people are going to start to get desperate.
Yeah, I see it.
And men are going to want to feed their families, and it's like, and you think, what are they going to do to do that? Because you can, desperation brings out people to do things that they wouldn't normally do.
Absolutely.
And it's like, where do we go? Because the money will only last so long.
For sure. No, for sure. Scary times ahead. Look after yourself, Alison. Thank you very much.
You look after yourself as well, Alan. Big love.
Take it easy. Bye-bye. Thank you. Very sweet. Going to talk to John Parr in a split second. And then a really nice email's just come in from Rachel. But first of all, John Parr, great act. Much better than... And people can only ever name one of his hits. Naughty Naughty was a top song too. However, great voice. Going to play, obviously, St Elmo's Fire. But let's hear, this is me and him talking backstage.
But it's strange for somebody to come from a relative, well, an unknown in real terms, to move onto the same stage as literally the greats. Has it been easy to adapt?
Tell you a little short story. About a year before I got my deal in America, I was very frustrated. On my lounge carpet listening to Toto 4 and thinking, Jesus Christ, however am I gonna, within 6 months of listening to that, I was actually touring with Toto, and now they're friends of mine. It's like how funny it's not blasé.
Name dropping,
but it's funny how the world turns, and you become, and then St Elmo's Fire and Tina Turner were all within 6 months of each other.
How did St Elmo's Fire come about? Did somebody approach you and say, "Hey John, we really think you write good songs. We want a film soundtrack from you"?
More or less. I had a hit out there with Naughty Naughty. It was the first thing I did out there. I literally finished my tour, flew to LA. We wrote St Elmo's Fire the next day, recorded it the day after, literally, and I left LA. It was like that. It was like magic.
Did it shock you, though, that to find it going to number one practically in the world?
To be honest, it was one of those rare times in my life when I knew exactly that song was it. That was like, it was almost like it wasn't mine. Sometimes you can be objective. Because in many ways it doesn't feel like it was part of me, and in other ways it was entirely me.
There's a line in that song that every human being on the world could identify with. Do you know what I mean?
My name is Chris Cross. Hi, my name is Chris Cross, the great magician of the North. And after the break, I'm going to be speaking to Alan all about my brand new children's Christmas storybook, The Geordie Santa. Don't go anywhere.
Alan Robson's Night Owls.
The phone-in that gets you talking.
Greatest Hits Radio.
Now, time. First of all, a big thank you to Rachel Harris and also to Wayne Burns, who've just been saying some very, very sweet things. Thank you very much. I always said right from the very beginning, loyalty, care and attention, it's what we got to do for each other to get by, and I'm stunned that it's happening in the way that people feel. Now, thank you kindly for each and every one of you. Time for your second clue. Let's do that. Now, remember, you could win yourself a copy of the book, which is that book, Grizzly Tales from Northumbria, my latest thing, and you can also get at the same time, oops, there you go, the Night Owls mug. You can have one of them too. So that's the prize tonight. All you got to do is work out the name of song from 4 clues, okay? Gave you a bit of an extra clue before. I will do that again for you. First clue is James Bond has 2 of these before 7. Okay, what does James Bond have before 7? 2 of them. And the second clue is the Beatles said she loves you, and then she said this word 3 times. The Beatles said she loves you, and then this word 3 times. Okay? 2 clues down, 2 more clues to come. I said 2 clues. 2, 3, 4. Stick around. I'll tell you more. So 2 more clues to come, then you can have a guess. Now, talking about someone that looks absolutely dapper today, should be Chris Cross. Hello, Chris. There he is.
Good morning, Alan, and good morning, Night Owls. Do you like me hat?
I think it's very, very good. Hat's my thing, your thing, our thing now, officially.
Exactly.
So there you go. So how you been?
I'm all right. I'm not bad. I mean, obviously, I'm still not doing many gigs at the minute. There's not much call for a magician during a pandemic, but not to worry. But yeah, I'm fine. I've got 1 gig in the pipeline, which is one that I've put on myself, which is on the 17th of December, and it's at the football club in Morpeth, and it's a drive-in magic show.
Fantastic. Whereabouts in Morpeth?
It's at Craig Park Football Club.
Right.
Craig Park. So it's the first ever drive-in magic show in the UK. Well, in fact, it's the second. I staged the first one just before Halloween, and it was sold out.
Brilliant.
We can only fit 45 cars in. So we put that on, and we're doing it again just before Christmas on the 17th of December, and it's the first ever drive-in magic lesson in the world, and it's
fantastic.
So first,
I'm guessing big screen,
massive screen. My friend Mick at Video Wall Hire has sponsored the event, and he's put this big LED huge screen, the kind that they've got at music festivals and stuff.
Right.
So he's got that up behind me, and then I'm at the front. There's 2 cameras on me, and I'm performing the tricks. And as everybody drives in, they get handed through the window a little magic set. So
brilliant.
They can they watch some magic, and they get fooled for half an hour. Then for the next half an hour, I teach them how to do some magic tricks with the magic set.
I'm guessing, though, it's going to be frozen, isn't it? I mean, great for the people in the cars, but a bit tricky for you, because it's all hands and dexterity and stuff.
Yeah, last time, I mean, I was fine. I'm pro and all that, but last time we did it was the 28th of October, and I'm standing at the front. I've got a few layers on, to be fair, and my hands are like ice, really cold. But no, I was fine. Managed to pull it off. You've got that much adrenaline going through and all that.
So presumably lit up by the car headlights and your own lights.
We've got proper lighting. We've got my voice and the music and stuff that I play comes through the car radios.
Brilliant. I mean, you were talking about 200 people, though, because presumably there'll be 4s and 5s squashed in all the cars.
Yeah, well, it's the same price per car. It's something like 25 quid, something like that. Give or take a few quid. So if you've got 5 people in, it's only a £5 each, and you get to see a show, and you get
your magic set. Brilliant! It is brilliant. Yeah. How easy is it though? Because presumably you're out there on your own for an hour and a half, 2 hours.
I do about half an hour of magic, then half an hour of teaching magic, and then another half an hour of magic. So about an hour and a half.
Brilliant. So again, if people want tickets, where are they getting them from?
If you just type in Chris Cross Drive-In Magic Show into see tickets, Or if you just type into Google, it'll come up pretty quickly. Do you want to see a sample of one of these tricks that I can perform?
Go on. I'm going to have to describe it to the listeners who don't have the facility of Facebook and YouTube. That's the only worry I would have.
That's the only thing. Well, look, I'll make it dead fast then. Right?
Go for it. He's holding a pack of cards, right?
Pack of cards is in my hands now, Alan. I want you to think of any card in the pack.
Got it.
And name it out loud so that everybody can know what you're thinking on air.
6 of clubs.
Now, I've had this pack of cards, if you're watching at home, on the video, this pack of cards hasn't left my hand and hasn't left the screen. Now, you said the 6 of clubs and you could have named any card.
And I truthfully didn't have any clue you were coming on tonight either. So
no, you didn't.
Till about 5 minutes ago. Right.
That's right. That's very true. And this pack of cards has been in my hand the whole time. I want you to imagine that 6 of clubs turning itself around inside the pack.
Gotcha.
Now, if you really imagine that and you really concentrate on that 6 of clubs, being the other way around in the pack, I'm going to go through all of these cards here. You can see them on the screen if you're watching at home.
I'm seeing all the numbers. Yeah.
And they're all different, as you can see.
They are.
I'm going through all of these cards here, and there's actually one card.
I can see the red back of one card next to all the numbers.
In the middle of the pack, I'm going to remove this card, get rid of the rest.
Dum, dum,
and you
dum.
said the 6 of clubs, Alan.
I did. It's the 6 of clubs. So you're a genius.
In the middle.
You're a genius. How about that? So that's just a taster of what you can see at Craig Park in Morpeth. What's the date again?
17th of December, and you can get your tickets online from C Tickets. But the main reason why I'm here is to introduce you to my new baby. Not an actual living human child. I mean, this book, what I've written.
All right. Oh, what's it called?
It's got nothing to do with magic. That's not the title, but it's got nothing to do with magic. It's called The Geordie Santa.
Oh, wow. That's great.
I'm showing everyone at home if you're watching on your screen. If not,
I'm
you can
seeing
watch it
it
back again.
I always thought that the Geordie Santa was ginger, but obviously not.
No, this bloke isn't ginger. He's called Jacker. He's it's written by myself during lockdown. It's beautifully illustrated by Rosie List, who's a Northumbrian artist.
Yeah.
And it's like a children's Christmas storybook, and it tells the story of Jacker the Geordie who meets Santa and his reindeer on Christmas Eve, and they take him on a magical adventure that he'll never forget.
It just screams movie to me.
What about this? We could do a Jacker on ice, maybe, you know, a Geordie Santa on ice.
Hey, I tell you, if the snowman can run for years and years, there's no reason why this sucker couldn't.
The Geordie Snowman, and it's mint. It really is. It's an A4 book with 28 pages, full colour. It's really
gorgeous.
A nice book. I'm proud of it, you know.
Where'd you get it from?
You can only get it from my website, which is chris-cross.co.uk.
There you go.
And it's the Geordie Santa. It's in the store. It's £6.99, and it's perfect for 5 to 9 year olds, or for big kids that just want to feel a little bit more Christmassy on Christmas Eve. Would you like a quick sample?
Yeah, go on. Give me a little taste.
I'll give you 60 seconds. All right.
Go on then. Yeah.
The first time ever, a sneak preview. That's the website you can buy it on, by the way.
I'm watching it. Gotcha.
Yeah. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and as snow fell on the town, the last order's bell and all of the pubs began to chime. Jacker had been out for some festive bevies at the Goose, the Three Bulls, and the Crown. Just an average Christmas Eve night in the city we call a town. Home before midnight to be in bed before Santa, he left out some milk, cookies, and a letter with festive banter. But feeling rather famished, and after getting home so late, he went to the kitchen and made himself some bait. Another can of Christmas cheer, then he lit up the fire, then put up his feet and indulged in one last boozy desire. It wasn't long before Jacker had dozed off to sleep in his chair, but half an hour later, he was woken with a scare. There were bangs, coughs, and clatters, which woke poor Jacker up. Then a voice angrily came from the chimney. "Help me, please, I'm stuck." Awakening from his sleep, he stared at the chimney in disbelief as a pair of legs and boots dangled and kicked beneath. Are you deaf down there? Get off that chair and pull on my legs, won't you, chap? I'm stuck in your chimney. I'm being cooked alive, and the sack doesn't help on my back.
Brilliant. Hey,
It's
great
all
place
about
to start.
Jack, who
What
meets
happens
Jack.
next? We'll all have to get one. And presumably they're going to be available at the Morpeth gig as well.
The beat the Morpeth gig, as long as the Morpeth gig goes ahead.
Right.
I've had 1,500 printed, and I've sold just over 100 in the last couple of days since I've got them. So this is
Collector's
brilliant.
item stuff.
There's 3 references throughout the whole book to either a Newcastle pub or the word beer. That's the only disclaimer in there. But it's good crack for parents reading it to the kids.
Yeah.
So I'll send you a few if you want.
Oh, that's
or
great. We can.
or something.
We will certainly do that, Chris. Thank you very much for your kindness. Love to the family. Always a pleasure to see you, man. Take it easy.
All the very best. Cheers.
Thanks
mate.
a lot. Merry
Take it
Christmas
easy.
to you. That's great. We love Chris. Chris is a good man. The difference in the entertainment industry is there's a lot of people firmly wedged up their own behinds. Chris, solid as the day is long. I wish him well. Hope the Morpeth gig goes well. What a thing to do when you can't do anything else. Go to a drive-in magic show. How cool is that? And, of course, we can also pick up a copy of the Geordie Santa. Good stuff. Spread the word. He deserves a helping hand. He hasn't been able to work for the longest time, like most people in the business. And isn't it strange? The people that can't work live, everybody's diving into, well, what can I do? What can I get out there? Absolute respect to them. Let us crack on. We have next Sue. No, I don't want to tell a lie. It's Jay from Los Angeles, California. Hi, Jay.
Hey, how you doing? It's been a minute.
Good to talk to you. Thanks for coming on. Blimey, what's going on in your country? Trumpy just won't go away.
I know. I was relieved that we voted him out. Remember the last time I was on, I was crossing my fingers and toes.
Yeah.
But so that all happened, and here's what I think is happening.
Okay.
He's contesting things in the courts not because he genuinely thinks that he's going to prevail ultimately, but because it gives him an excuse to solicit funds from his supporters. Because it's been documented. He's been sending out emails to his supporters where he's asking for money to support the challenges in court.
Right.
But in the fine print, it says that the money people donate only goes to that cause after it exceeds $8,000.
Oh,
right. The first $5,000 goes to a political action committee that he's just started. The next $3,000 goes to the Republican National Convention, and after somebody donates over $8,000, then it will go toward the legal challenges. So basically, the average person never reads the legal type, right?
No.
So the average person thinking that they're just helping him pay down his campaign bills and to fund these other things. So
shocking.
I think that's why they're just going through this charade. I mean, I doubt that Giuliani is charging him anything to be the lawyer, right? So he's just carrying on this charade and really degrading the confidence that a lot of people have in the election process.
Well, the rest of the world looks at you and thinks it's what kind of system have you got over there? It's a cockamamie system that patently doesn't work.
Right. I mean, it takes a long time for the checks and balances to catch up with this fool. It's like it takes too long. And if people are quote unquote bad actors in the equation, like Bill Barr and such, then the checks and balances just don't work.
But from what I'm hearing, though, is that Joe Biden wants to get a handle on things so that he can try and sort the whole COVID mess that Trump, in fairness, has added to the mess rather than try to help to any large degree. If that's the case, Joe Biden wants to get in there and try and sort it out as quickly as possible for the benefit of all Americans, not just Republicans and Democrats and Republicans. So bottom line is Donald Trump is potentially killing people with all of this.
He absolutely is killing people. because he's impeding Biden's access. Under the normal process, Biden, as president-elect, would be given access to security briefings. His staff would be set up with email addresses and all that admin stuff. But because a Trump loyalist in the GSA department is not signing a form that is acknowledging Biden's win, none of those admin functions can occur.
Right.
So all that stuff's being blocked, and Biden therefore does not have official access to Dr. Fauci,
right.
The leading health expert, and and just to be able to get the mass behind what he wants to do. I mean, we already knew that Trump's negligence and lack of interest in caring for the public caused lots of deaths, but he played golf during the G20 summit about the pandemic. So it's not funny. He just needs to go. January 20th can't come fast enough. The state's certified results cannot come soon enough, and then hopefully we can just hopefully the news channels will start to ignore him.
Well,
nobody wants to hear it. I mean, lots of people do want to hear it. 70 million people voted for him, and 75 million didn't. But so obviously a lot of people want to hear from him, and I just hope that the news stations have had enough.
This is kind of where it is, though, because Trump, by pure lying to people, I mean, he is right from the very beginning been the fake news that he tells his people everyone else is, but the lies, even in a speech, American networks have been saying this is the lie count for today, and there's 47 separate lies that can be disproven in the speech. And nobody of his followers listens to that. I mean, you're on the West Coast, and the West Coast is essentially Joe Biden territory anyway, by the sound of things. Nobody's interested in Trump. But if you went to the middle of the country and down just a little bit, you're surrounded in Trump followers who won't have a bad thing said about him, even though the rest of the world sees him as a clown.
Correct. Yeah, he's undermined confidence in the media with his rhetoric, and it's really a shame. And you're absolutely right. I remember at the beginning of his presidency 4 years ago, I remember when the news stations were very careful about not calling him an outright liar. They were like, oh, well, that might not be 100% accurate, or that might not be true. I mean, we're done with all that. Now it's just, well, that was a lie, that was a lie, that was a lie. It's absolutely ridiculous. But the people, they just don't want to hear it. Right. His supporters, they just don't want to hear it.
But how do you pull it? I mean, let's look at it from our point of view here in Europe. We're a tiny little country. Frankly, in fact, you're merely one of our colonies. But we're a tiny little country, and there's America that's the size of 50-odd other countries all piled on top of each other. You're a massive nation. How do you bring the country together after something like Trump has happened?
I think that's going to be the challenge of the next 30, 40, 50 years. I think that so much damage has been done that you just don't. The answer to your question is that you just don't. I think that a lot of what Trump was able to successfully do was bring out a lot of the deep-rooted kind of feelings that had been suppressed in a lot of the population for a long time, and we're starting to get sort of pushed out by the generations, in terms of racism and prejudice and stuff like that. But he was able to play into those kinds of things, and now they've reared their ugly heads again, and they're not going away anytime soon.
So what about maybe, just maybe, there's a way that this can be speeded up a little bit? In any case, will Trump be prosecuted? Because arguably he's done enough, said enough, and lied enough to have broken numerous laws. And while he's president, you can't get at him, but he's going to be out of office early in the new year. Then he's fair game, isn't he?
Yeah, so he will be very vulnerable. He will be most vulnerable by the states, because he won't be able to be pardoned from the federal government by any state crimes. So, for instance, New York State has cases against him for, potentially tax evasion.
Right.
And that won't be, Joe Biden couldn't give him any sort of honorary pardon or anything like that, or whatever you'd call it. I don't know if they would ever actually put a former U.S. president in jail, although he certainly, in my opinion, would deserve to be, based on even just his negligence over COVID, let alone a million other things. But I think it might be financial crimes that ultimately do him in, if someone's willing to actually go that route. I think that more so, though, people like Ivanka and Jared and people like that are going to be incredibly vulnerable. They have the whole rest of their lives to live, and they were right up into their necks in all this stuff too.
From the outside looking in, and let's face it, the main reason we want America to be sweet and nice and sorted and COVID-free as quickly as possible is because the Northeast, one of the main areas for banging plane loads of people across to visit America. The theme parks, Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York. You're one of our major tourist destinations.
Sure, yeah.
So at the present moment, it looks like you're a million miles away from being open for business.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I don't even feel comfortable going outside very often. I mean, from the last time I talked to you a few weeks back, I probably only went outside 3 times. I'm glad I like where I live.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, because that was quite a while ago, at least 3 weeks ago that I called it. It's we're not in good shape here at all. I mean, as you know, we're heading on to this upcoming week. We're heading into the Thanksgiving holiday,
right.
Which is where typically families will gather, and carve a turkey and all that stuff. With
Sure.
And a lot of people, they want to have some kind of gathering because it's such a traditional thing here to do. And, people are saying, oh, well, why don't we just have a smaller gathering?
Right.
Why don't we just have, 5 people or 10 people instead of having our whole family? Or, there's less travel going on, and obviously right now. But people are still doing it. People are still doing it. They're saying, okay, well, let's just have 5 people.
Will people totally ignore the lockdown and just do their own thing? Because I sense that's likely what's going to happen here in Britain.
I just don't know. There's no real enforcement of anything. Even when Los Angeles said masks outside were mandatory, it wasn't happening. I think the word mandatory still comes across as being an encouragement to do so when there's no enforcement. There's not stopping people on the street and giving them tickets or anything. So I think it really it's an encouragement to decent law-abiding people to just follow the law because it's the law, and then for other people who want to break the law and have an inclination to do that, then they're going to do what they're going to do. People are going to do what they're going to do. Yeah, I mean, I just all I can do is stay home.
Yeah. It just
I
sounds.
still get my groceries delivered. I'm fortunate. I'm really fortunate that I happen to have a job where I don't have to leave the house. I work on my computer all day.
Right.
So so because of that, I'm going to take advantage of that privileged position.
Right.
And I'm going to be very thankful that I'm able to take advantage of services that allow me to stay home most of the time.
Well, I just hope you stay well. I've worked a little bit of time in Los Angeles, and it's the flakiest city in the world that I've ever been in. It is a weird kind. I went to a restaurant once. I was lucky enough to be invited there. Big name drop here with Ellen DeGeneres, who's
oh yeah, of course,
big star in America. Not so much over here, but we know her. It was a hotel, and when I went into the lobby, they had a naked girl behind the counter in a glass box, just as like living art. And I'm thinking, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. I felt really sorry for the poor woman. And the other memories I've got, kind of like Venice Beach, where everybody has to look better than the next person along, otherwise they just don't go down there at all. In Britain, if you've got a hot beach, you've got every shape and size known to the world enjoying a thoroughly nice time, and nobody cares. But in Los Angeles, you got to look beefy and chunky or sexy, or you can't look ordinary. Because I walked along there, and I was a minger in comparison to what was on show there of both sexes. So it's funny. Just it must be an odd place to live.
It can be, yeah. It can be a funny place. I mean, I've lived here now for 20 years, but I grew up in Connecticut, and then when I go back home for the holidays, although I'm not going back home this year, well, you know, and I see like, you know, a slice of like everyday people again. I'm like, oh, well, okay, now I forgot. That
it's real again. Life is real all of a sudden.
I forgot that I'm normally surrounded by, you know, I'm in environments where people have sort of self-selected to come to a place where, you know, where they're trying to be an actor or trying to
everybody's
be
trying to be.
Something like
no, this is exactly.
Yeah. Everyone has they call it their side hustle. You know, they got their regular job where they actually make their living, and then they got their side hustle. You know, like, oh, you're a waitress. No, I'm a waitress, but I'm really an actor. I'm trying to be an actor. Sure. Oh, so what are you? Oh, you know, I'm really this. I do this, but I'm really this.
Yeah, everybody's a wannabe. I was invited to be on Larry King Live, and when I was there, I spent a little bit of time up in the hills staying at a friend's house who's got a property up there, and he was having a bit of a do for me being over, bringing some friends around. And I thought, well, what do? Do you bring a bottle of wine? Because in Britain, you'd bring a bottle of wine probably. And they said, oh, no, here, take a sweet course, you know, like buy a cake or a pudding or something to be had with the food.
Oh, you can, you could do that. Either's fine.
So that's what I was recommended to do. So I went to a shop in the Hollywood Hills that was like a designer cake thing and spent probably more on a cake than most people would buy as a deposit for a car. And in the distance, I saw the most beautiful woman jogging up the hill. She had white, like, leggings on, a bare midriff, and like a small bra top. I caught just a glimpse of her sideways, and she had the largest chest I'd ever seen in my life. And when I actually drove, she's what we describe in Britain as a bobfock. Have you ever come across the phrase?
I don't know. No, I don't know what that means.
A bobfock is body off Baywatch, face off Crime Watch. That's what it means. So when we actually got past this woman jogging, she was 70 if she was a day, but yet she'd had all the operations, so the face was really tight in all directions. Scary, people. Scary.
Yeah, that
scary
kind of stuff is scary, but I wouldn't say that that's representative of the general population, but you just definitely get that around here once in a while. I never really understood the plastic surgery thing, because it doesn't really make people look younger. It just makes them look like they got plastic surgery.
That's exactly right. Hey, anyway, Jay, thank you very much for coming back on. Always a joy. Stay well and keep your ears open, because we'll be back to you, I've got no doubt.
Sounds awesome. Take care.
All right,
Bye.
respect. Take care easy. There you go. Los Angeles with us, for heaven's sake. That's a bit special. Let's have another quick star, shall we? Oh, I'm in the mood for maybe a BG. This is Robin Gibb talking about his early years.
The three brothers actually were born in Douglas. Every time my mum got pregnant, she went and had a holiday in the Isle of Man. and that's where we were brought up for the first few years of our lives. Then we went to Manchester.
Right.
And then a few years there, then emigrated to Australia, a few years there, and came back to England again.
So a bit of a split childhood. What was it like? Was it fun travelling around?
Yeah, it was actually very educational, because we went on one of those very cheap sailing emigration plans, trips to Australia, and we got to stop off at all these sort of exotic places.
Fantastic.
Little kids, you don't normally see those things, you know.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, like £10 for the whole family to go to Australia on the emigration plan.
Fantastic.
But we got, it was great seeing all those places, 3 weeks at sea.
Yeah, sounds really cool. Were you a good kid, bad kid? What kind of lad were you?
Wasn't too bad. I mean, we were actually into music at a very early age, so the three of us were actually, we didn't have a lot of money in the family, so we just used to, get lost in our music, and the three of us would just have this little world of our own. So we didn't really mix that much with other kids, and so it was just, we had each other most of the time.
Right. But I would have thought, though, that would make you learn all the nasty things about each other and ultimately fight like cat and dog, because siblings usually do.
Well, I think we did, but I think that wore off as we got older. But as kids, we were still the normal kids that fight with each other over stupid things. But yeah, I mean, that's what brothers do, isn't it?
So
they fight.
Absolutely. So who always won then?
Who always won? Well, the strongest always won. Might is always right, is it? But yeah, it's we just normal kids really growing up.
0191 488 3188.
This is Night Owls.
Greatest hits radio.
Big thank you to a lot of people that have been sending emails and messaging about various things. David Johnson wants a mention. So does Mark, who says he knows it's the wrong way to look at it, but it pays to be unemployed. Since well before lockdown, I'm with a mental disability. The job centre have left me alone since April, and in between the two lockdowns, I did my voluntary placement that I was really enjoying. So there you go, they're leaving him alone. And Chris says, for once, Alan, take some praise, North East legend. Hi, Alan. Grew up in Wallsend and visits to my gran on Sunday. Loved the Night Owls. Always turned up at events throughout the North East to drool over your bladed dancers. I'm now living in Edinburgh as a police officer, and Scotland has nothing like what you're offering on Greatest Hits. I've converted colleagues at my station to your show. You and all the team kept me sane when I was growing up in the North East. Keep up the excellent work. Don't let them get you down. Like the Tyne Bridge, the Angel of the North, and Dixon's Savoy Dip. You're a true North East icon and legend. Thanks, Alan. Keep up the good work. Chris in Edinburgh. Stay well, Chris. Thanks for getting in touch as well. Wearer of the blue. Let us crack on. You're about 15 minutes away from your third clue and about 40 minutes away from your final clue. So you'll be able to work this out if you can. You're 2 clues in. Let's talk to Sue, who is in Jarrow. Hello, Sue. Let's see what she's got to say. Hello, Sue. Hello, darling. How are you doing?
I'm all right.
That is good. What are you talking about tonight?
Right, well, first I wanted to give a trigger warning.
Ooh, what's a trigger warning?
It's to let people know something, they're going to hear something bad.
Oh,
you know,
right.
That's going to affect a lot of people out there.
Right.
But if they listen to the end, I can give them some good advice.
Okay, right.
Right. Now, I don't know if you remember, I rang you a while back about the hernia mesh.
Yes.
Yes. Well, I just wanted to let people know what's going on.
Right.
Because this hernia mesh, as you know, it's made with petroleum byproduct.
Right. And this is what they put inside your tummy to keep your hernia from popping out through your stomach lining.
It is,
kind
but
of thing,
also it's used in most operations because surgeons have been using it just to close up.
Right.
So it's used in appendix, hysterectomies, hernias, transplants. It's used in men, women and children.
Right.
Now, this hernia mesh, they just sew each side in and it's plastic. So it scrapes in the body, and what happens is your body will surround it with scar tissue, and that's the hernia fix. You know, it's not actually the mesh that fixes it, it's the scar tissue build-up.
Right.
Now, inside this scar tissue, on the plastic, a biofilm grows, all right?
Right.
So, depending on how you're feeding yourself, what you're eating and drinking, you're going to be feeding this biofilm. And if you do something heavy, hurt yourself, it's going to leak into your system. And that's a full-on autoimmune attack. So you're going to get anything along the lines of an autoimmune disease. You could get anything. Also, if you catch an infection, now this biofilm catches the infection too. So once you've got an infection, it'll propagate.
Right.
So it'll spread, and you won't be able to get rid of it if you're feeding the biofilm with bad food.
How come doctors haven't come forward and said, if you've had this done, you need to come back in and we'll have to do something else with you then?
Well, this is what I'm going to tell you now.
Right.
Now, in 2018, my operation was a hysterectomy. Now, I've sent you a few scans, and I hope you've had a look at them.
I have, absolutely.
Quite catastrophic, and I'm going to explain them.
Okay.
I had a hysterectomy, and they didn't tell us they used petroleum byproduct mesh. Nobody told us.
Right.
So I've been sick since 1998, getting sicker and sicker.
Right.
They then told us that my ovaries had to be taken out. That's all. So I went in and I had them taken out.
Right.
I got sicker and sicker. They then told us I had to have my gallbladder out. so they took that out.
Right.
And I still got sicker and sicker. So I went back crying to the GP, and he actually shouted at us and said, there's absolutely nothing wrong with you but a vitamin D3 deficiency, right? So he says he'd give us 33,000 units to take 3 times a week for 12 weeks, and then 1 a week after that. Now, when I started taking them, it was fine. I was still poorly, nothing changed. But after the first week, I started having spasms. After the second week, I was falling down on the ground in agony. After the third week, I was vomiting. I went back to the doctors because my arm had gone dead.
Right.
And this doctor said, have you hurt your arm? I said, no. So he raised my arm fast above my head. The pain shot down my neck and he broke my brain barrier, right? Because the vitamin D3 is actually co-calciferol. That's a 75% active ingredient in rat poison. So what happened was...
What's your brain barrier? You're using terms I've never heard before. What's a
Well, it's your barrier that prevents things from getting to your brain, you know?
Right.
It prevents your brain leaking down your spine.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Your brain fluid thing, right?
Right. So it should stay in your brain, obviously.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to go anywhere else, right? Normally.
I forgot where I was up to now, man.
No, right. So you broke your brain, you had that, and you'd had the bad arm. You'd lifted the arm up, broke your brain barrier. Then,
right. So he broke my brain barrier, and the co-calciferol had its rat poison, so it had stopped my stomach from absorbing calcium, and my body had gone into panic mode and had sucked the calcium from my bones and pushed it into soft tissue. That's your body's natural mechanism when your stomach can't digest calcium.
Right.
And it destroyed other stomach enzymes, so eating was a problem, right?
Right.
So once they broke my brain barrier, they sent us home. I was distraught with a bad neck. I went and had my arm x-rayed. The hospital refused to x-ray my neck when I told them the doctor had hurt my neck.
Right.
So I then went back to the doctors, and this time the doctor totally refused to treat us. And as I opened the door to his room, I hadn't stepped out of it, I was sprayed in the face with something. Now, by the time I got home, I was vomiting, diarrhea, I was having heart attacks. This went on for weeks. I was going back and forwards to hospital, they were turning us away.
Right.
And I've since found out why. Because this is the hospital that had put the petroleum inside us. So, as far as I'm concerned, these doctors tried to kill us, and I didn't know why, you know.
So have you got to the bottom of it?
I did. I went and got my private scan. I had to go all the way to Hull
Right.
to pay for a private scan, which I got, and I found what was wrong with us, these implants. I've got 2. That they didn't have consent to put in. They didn't tell us anything about it from the first time they put them in.
Right.
So they kept it hidden from us. And this is every hospital in my area, not just one. It's all of them.
Right.
In South Tyneside, in the northeast, all of them. And they all knew it was inside us and nobody told us.
Right.
So I've been half poisoned to death, you know.
So where do you go from here then, Sue?
Well, this is it. Now, if you look at them scans, the one on its own, the big round one, that's actually my bladder. And attached to it is the petroleum byproduct. And it's almost inside my bladder. Now, my bladder doesn't get big, doesn't get little. It stays the same size. So it fills up and then I explode, right? Now, the other one is... It sort of fell down into me back passage, and it's an L shape. Right. So I can't go to the toilet neither for a poo. Same thing happens, right? So, and if you want to talk about Elvis, I'll tell you Elvis had mesh kits inside of him. He had 15 toilets, and he had a heart attack because of these implants that he might not have known about. Now, what I'm telling people is, because I work in healthcare, I work in dementia and end of life. Now, these petroleum byproduct implants are mostly in the pelvis area.
Right.
And I've known people who've had them, like, for appendix. They've covered them up with the mesh, and they end up with things like, oh, I can't breathe. Oh, you've got asthma. Have these medications. I still can't breathe. Oh, you've got COPD. No, you haven't. You've got biofilm filling up, right? The lower people down the bottom will have a bad lower back pain. Their bladder and bowels, basically not work properly.
So are you saying, though, that, I mean, first of all, I know you're not medically trained, this is just your experience, but you work in medicine in a general sense.
Well, I work in end of life and dementia, and that's what I'm getting to.
So, but I mean, what, are you saying that everybody that has mesh of any kind is at risk then?
Yes. I'm saying everybody is.
Right.
It's a slow process at first. It builds up, right? It can take years and years. You go for your doctor for years, and then you say, oh, you've got this autoimmune disease.
Right.
No, you haven't. You've got biofilm build-up attacking your immune system.
Right.
Now, I'm saying this is in millions of people worldwide. They're not putting it in the papers. I've spoken to the newspapers. I've spoken to Owen Jones, who offered to help us, but I've since discovered that he only wanted us to promote euthanasia, which is absolutely disgusting.
Right.
Now, if it's in the pelvis area, like mine, I've got 2 hooks in my hips.
So, Harold, what do you see? We're running out of time for the call, Sue. So, what's the point at the end? You said you were going to give them some information that would benefit them. What is that information then?
Well, I have to say this first. Mine's attached to my nervous system, my hips.
Right.
With the infection, it can go up the spine. That's transverse myelitis, right?
Right.
Goes to the brain. It causes dementia. Right? Now, what I can tell people is they have to go vegan. They have to stop eating wheat, dairy, gluten, sugar, GMOs, preservatives, everything, because they're feeding the biofilm. That's the only way they're going to settle it. That's the only way I settled it, I nearly went out of my mind because some of these women in the care homes feel like they're being raped to death. They're being driven out of their minds. They're being poisoned by doctors, so they can't speak. And I blew the whistle and nobody listened. And now look at the state of the place. You know what I mean? It's worldwide. You've got people with dementia running around the streets attacking each other. It's all to do with petroleum mesh. And when people get dementia, what it does is it adrenalizes the blood. And I don't know if you know this, Alan, but adrenaline is very expensive, It's more expensive than oil. Okay?
Right.
And it is a terrifying thing to tell people. But the end-of-life drive should not be given. Because people are conscious and they can't move. This is muscle relaxants, things to keep them going, slow their heartbeat down. It's all to do with the nervous system. Your chakras and meditation.
Right.
They get the shake inside. That's the dementia coming. The shake inside. Well, I've been meditating since I was little because my grandfather's Indian, my dad's from Trinidad.
Right. So we must move on. We've heard that it's scary. You've got a lot of people who some agree with you, some disagree with you. But the bottom line is...
Well, they can't disagree with us because I'm living the dream.
You live in the nightmare rather than the dream.
The nightmare. I'm living it.
I get it. Okay, so I must move on, but thank you very much for calling. Petroleum implants. You've heard Sue's story. What's your story? Talking to you after this.
This is Night Owls on Greatest Hits Radio.
You never know who's going to call next.
0191 488 3188.
Greatest Hits Radio.
Now, if you fancy having a chat, pick up your telephone. You will get through. Chris is waiting for you right now. What do you want to talk about? The mesh, have you got an issue with it? Have you got it? Is it inside you? Have you had any of the side effects that Sue was talking about? Give me a call and let's have a bit of crack about those. The mesh. Have you got it? Does it do what Sue says it does? Love to hear from you. Okay, vegans. Life as a vegan, what's it like? Give me a call, 0191 488 3188. I love the idea of being a vegetarian. Then I keep getting seduced by bacon, spicy chicken, Indian meals with chicken and prawns and stuff. You know, ooh, it's a tough give up. So talk me into it. What are you going to have for Christmas if you're a vegan? There you go. Answer me that if you can. 0191 488 3188. Love to hear from you. Give us a call if you fancy. Time for your third clue as well. The first clue is this. Now, you're going to end up with 4 words that appear in a very, very famous song. 4 words from a song. Can you name it? If you can, you win a copy of the book, Grizzly Tales from Northumbria. You get a copy of the book. You also get a mug, a Night Owls mug, if you fancy. Get to those phones. Whoops, it says on the other side. So there you go. A mug and a book if you can name this massive hit, a greatest hit. James Bond has 2 of these before 7. James Bond has 2 of these before 7. Second clue, the Beatles said she loves you and then said this word 3 times. Third clue, a place in a school, a gym or a swimming pool where you can secure your valuables. You put everything in a what? Okay? A place in school, a gym or a swimming baths where you can secure your valuables. You put them in a what? 3 clues down, 1 more clue to come. You're 20 minutes away from it. So hang on in there. We want the little things that really pee you off as well. We want some of them. But let us go to Joe, who is in North Yorkshire. Hello, Joe.
Hello, Alan. How are you?
I'm very well. Good to hear from you.
Good. Thank you very much.
What are you calling about then tonight?
So, yeah, it's just about the coronavirus and how it affected our business, really.
Right.
We keep birds of prey and an exotic mobile zoo here in North Yorkshire,
Wow.
just outside Borough Bridge.
Right.
And obviously with myself being self-employed, and the business relies on bookings and school visits and birthday parties and events where we're going educate the children and give animal encounters.
Right.
We've had totally nothing since March, since we went into the first lockdown.
Did you not have a time to reopen during the end of the first lockdown?
Well,
'Cause a lot of people did.
We did reopen again, but people didn't have a clue what was going to happen really, and if we were going to go into a second lockdown, which we have. We didn't get a lot of booking. We had a few bookings come in, but not a great deal to keep us going through the winter. And obviously we're in nearly the back end of November now, coming into December.
Yeah.
Winter's only around the corner. How do we survive through the winter? It's a massive question mark.
How many animals have you got at the zoo?
Well, we have over 500 on our register. So we are registered with Harrogate Borough Council, and we are registered as a business to be able to run the business.
Right.
Otherwise, you've got to be able to run a business like ours.
Sure.
So yeah, we have over 500 animals. But
how are you feeding them if you're not getting any money in at all?
Well, we have been pleading really hard to the public and to our local villages that surrounded us.
Right.
And they have been helping us throughout the lockdown, the first lockdown.
Right.
And some of our good friends that live in our local villages are still helping us out at the moment, but we aren't in the thick of winter yet, which obviously is the expensive time of the year, because obviously we need more electricity to be used on heating all of our exotic animals that we've got, because we have got a lot of animals.
How big do you go at that zoo?
Well, what do you mean, how big?
Well, I mean, some people have the biggest thing they've got, maybe a pig or a cow or a meerkat. Others go up to giraffes. I mean, how far do you go?
Well, the biggest things we've got here, we do live on a farm, so we've got farm animals as well, but we just use the farm animals for our own pleasure and our use. And our biggest thing we've got on the farm is horses.
Right.
Then we've got every other farm animal that you can imagine. So sheep, goats, pigs. We've even got ostriches. But obviously a horse is a lot bigger than an ostrich.
Sure.
And then we've got meerkats, tortoises. We've got some tortoises that are the third largest species tortoise in the world.
Right.
And they do eat a lot of fruit and veg.
Right.
They eat us out of house and home, to be honest, but...
So presumably the local businesses will help where they can.
Yeah,
but 500 animals a day to feed is ridiculous.
It does take a lot to feed, and it's nearly 24/7 really. That's why I'm still up this time of morning, because otherwise I would have still been doing something, whether it's on the computer doing the books or doing something.
Sure.
I don't usually go to bed till 2-3 o'clock in the morning because we're always that busy doing things.
Right.
And it's 6 o'clock up in the morning to start doing things for the next day, sort of thing. So,
I mean, can the government, or has the government offered you any kind of assistance at all?
No, there's nothing at all for a business like ourselves from the government. There's no help whatsoever. Obviously, with me being self-employed, I have claimed the 2 self-employment grants that were available, but they didn't really cover anything. And I put all of that funding that I got straight into the business.
Right.
I didn't basically see a penny of it. So animals have had it all basically, or it's gone on electric bills. It's just a very expensive time of year coming up. And 75% of the animals that we've got in the exotic mobile zoos, part of it, are all rescued as well, because we do run a rescue as well. So all them animals, or the 75% of the animals that we've got in there, have all came in through either unwanted pets, or they've been neglected or abandoned, which we have had a few snakes over the years and lizards where they've been found. We had one recently, earlier on this year, an 8-foot boa constrictor. It was found in a pillowcase in a skip in the middle of Bradford.
I never know.
So that snake didn't get there on its own in a pillowcase.
Sure.
Somebody's.
I'm just thinking. We had a couple of similar cases in the north where parks and not zoo centres really. They were more like garden centres that had an animal thing attached to them, and they got local schools involved. To generate money and raise money. For the zoo. Is there any mileage in the schools around you?
There is. We do a lot of school visits. We are a mobile business, so we come to you basically. We're not a farm open to the public because we do live on a rented farm, and the owner that owns it basically won't allow us to bring people in.
Right.
So we are a mobile business, so we come to you. That's what we are. We're a zoo that comes to you, if you know what I mean.
Right.
But we do a lot of school visits with education purposes, but obviously with the COVID at the moment, no schools will have us in. Would it be safe for us going into a school?
I mean, to be honest,
we're ground. We're not sure, are we?
We're in a grey area here altogether.
And we are.
If we lump you into the general term of entertainment, every form of entertainment suffering.
Every form.
But it's just most forms of entertainment. If you're a band, you might have 4 or 5 or 6 people who therefore have to try and find earnings somewhere. But they don't have 500 animals to feed in the meantime.
No, they don't. And I could go out there and get a job.
Right.
But who's going to then look after the animals and do all the work here on the site, on farm? Because nobody can do it, because we do take college students in as well from Askham Bryan in York, for instance.
Right.
But obviously with the lockdown and everything and the college is shut, they couldn't even come. So we had extra work and extra burden on on myself and my partner.
So what are you going to do long term, though? Because it looks like it's going to be well into next year.
It is,
Boris is
and
promising everybody that it'll be back to normal by March. I wouldn't bet a mortgage on it.
Well, we have events that book us. We go to a lot of the corporate events. Like we do come up north. We do the Northumberland County Show. We do that one.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also go to Wolsingham. We go to the Wolsingham County Show.
Right.
And the country fair that they had there last year. We do them. But yeah, we've got events. I cancel them for next year now as well, 21. Because they don't know how far this is going to go on.
No, I understand.
So yeah, the worrying thing we are just pleading to the general public for help. So we are getting help. But not as much as we did in the first lockdown.
What's your website if anybody wishes to?
So
try and help you?
my website is joesowlencounters.com.
Right.
Or if you just do a Google search for Joe's Exotic Mobile Zoo, you can find me through there as well. So we do have an exotic animal rescue page set up on our website for donations, and a list of food sources that we use. So if you want to give us £3 for a bag of carrots or a net of carrots, we can take that, no problem. Or if you want to give us £10 for a £10 fruit or veg box that we buy from our suppliers in York, and we get a fruit and veg delivery every Thursday of every week, which just keeps us rolling over.
Tiding over. Hey, let's hope you get some help. Joe, good luck to you, mate.
We do need a lot of help, please, if we can get it.
I hear you. Thanks for coming on, mate. Good luck.
Thank you very much, Alan. Thanks for having me.
Look after them critters. My goodness. Makes you wonder how anybody in that kind of business is hanging on in there. 01914 888 3188. Do not forget, with 3 clues down, got 1 more clue to come. 2, 3, 4. Stick around, I'll tell you more. Is another clue. So pay attention. What is the name of that song? 1 more clue to go, then you can give us a call and win the book, win the mug, and be very, very happy indeed. So let's move across to Simon, who's in Peterlee. Hi, Simon.
Good morning, Flashing Blade.
Hello, mate. What can we do for you?
Oh, wait, there's a lot of talk about coronavirus, which obviously is going to be prevalent, but people need to be aware of Brexit as well.
Right. Are the two connected?
Quite possibly. Now, I've spent my entire working life in freight forwarding, which, for some people, don't say or they don't understand, and they go, "Oh, what's that?" And they go, "Import export," and they go, "Oh yeah." And at the end of 2 weeks before the end of this year, the customs clearance system, which all businesses are going to have to use, is going to be rolled out.
Explain what you think that's going to mean.
Well, the whole I started in freight forwarding from the very beginning, really.
Right.
And we had a customs clearance system called Chief.
Right.
And it was not very good, to say the best.
Right.
And this is the system that Michael Gove and Boris Johnson are rolling out now.
This is to replace what we had with Europe, because Europe are now going to be sticking tariffs on everything that we send anywhere, because there's no deal as it stands.
Absolutely.
Right.
Right. So the system doesn't work, or the system that I used didn't work, and the system that they're going to roll out is going to come in place 2 weeks before the end of this year, and that's what we're going to be stuck with. So in the end, we're going to be stuck with
a system that doesn't work.
Yeah, and fruit and veg from Europe rotting in a car park in Kent.
But we're hearing that we're going to have massive shortages because apparently 80%, which is a massive amount. I always thought that the south of England was loaded for the Garden of England, loaded with fruit and veg and everything we needed we could get from Britain. Not true. 17% we get from Britain, 80% from Europe. We'll be lucky to get a lorry load of fruit that can rot in Kent, aren't we?
Exactly, yeah. And that's what makes you laugh, that we're allegedly meant to be a country that grows our own veg and farms our own pigs and chickens and et cetera.
Yeah.
And yet we don't, because we import pretty much everything that we eat out of the supermarkets.
So presumably then any fruit and veg that's in supermarkets will double, treble or quadruple in prices then. I mean, that's automatic, isn't it?
Well, I've looked on or the BBC News website, which you can't entirely trust.
That's true.
And a couple of days ago, I looked on there, and there was a fella that ships Stilton cheese, so it has to be from the village of Stilton,
right,
to Northern Ireland. And he's saying that after this, whatever it is, mess up along the Irish Sea, he's saying that his cheese wheels are going to increase in price by 50 or 60 pounds.
Cheapest, right, that's a fortune.
And he said he can't, in all honesty, charge Northern Irish customers triple.
He's pricing himself out the market, realistically. Well, he's not, but circumstances are pricing him out the market.
Aye, and that's all for Mr. Johnson's ego.
I mean, we're hearing mixed messages, and I know that, yes, we know the vote was to leave Europe. Now we're hearing from people like the Chancellor that leaving Brexit could well be a mistake, and he's talking about how we don't just take any deal. The deal we get must be the right deal, but they're nowhere near a good deal or a deal that both sides are happy with. So you reckon we're up the creek without a paddle then?
Aye. So how does that work then? So you've got the Department of Trade are saying, oh yeah, we're going to get cheap soy sauce from Japan, even though we had a decent price as in we're part of the EU. And then today you've got Boris Johnson shaking hands with Mr. Trudeau from Canada. We've got a big trade deal here, big trade deal there. I really don't think that people have understood what they voted for.
Well, but I think they're going to find out pretty damn quick, though.
Aren't they, though?
Simon, thank you very much for coming on. Good luck. I hope things actually work out where they get a deal where it can be better than it obviously is going to be. Thanks for calling.
Thank you, Alan.
Cheers, Simon. Bye-bye. Right, and let us move on to Richie, who is in Washington. Hello, Richie.
Hello, Alan. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you very much for coming on. What you got for us?
Champion of the North.
Well, bless you. Thank you. Right.
Do you not think we are having our identity stripped away slowly by the, I don't know who to blame, but years ago we had our regional TV stations, like the Border, disappeared. Time Teas, all that churn out now is maybe an hour's worth of news every day.
Same with radio.
The same things happening with radio.
Yeah.
They just seem to be losing our identity.
It's awful. It's horrific. It's wrong, and it is what it is. I'm lucky to have any kind of foothold in any place, because about 95% of northeastern presenters, well, they're not here anymore. They've just gone, and they're trying to find things to do themselves. It's not for me to ask the reasons why. People buy companies, and they're free to do with them what they wish, and to paint their own pictures and design their own shape and sound.
The
But
way they changed the names of the stations.
all
over
of
the years,
all of that. The bottom line is, just speaking personally, and it's not about the station that I'm on or any others, not past nor present. To me, the thing that radio does better than anything else is spontaneity. Telling the people that live around where they are exactly what's going on a minute-to-minute basis, not once an hour or whatever. When something happens, we can tell you immediately what's going on in the patch and talk to people who are there and get them immediately on. That's what local radio is about. Local radio is about the person in the locality identifying with the people who they're talking with or listening to. And I just think radio nationally is missing the trick of what radio is really genuinely all about. And but that's just my opinion is worth no more than yours or anybody else's. Just one man's view.
On a less serious subject, just like to warn people that there are some counterfeit Mr. Kipling mince pies going about, and they are exceedingly fake. I was at the National Incontinence Awards night the other night, and I tell you what, there wasn't a dry seat in the house. When I rang Chris there, I asked on about going to funerals.
Right.
And when you hear people saying, yeah, I went to the wrong funeral, well, it sort of happened to me the other week.
What? What happened?
Well, I rang a friend and I asked what time this person's funeral was, and he said, oh, it's 2:00. So I went down to the tram, and obviously people outside had masks on, but a few of them did acknowledge me, you know.
Right.
So I went in and I sat down, and the lady doing the service said, I'd like to welcome you all to so-and-so's funeral. And I went, I'm at the wrong funeral. but when I looked, there was a few faces. A woman with a mask on was taking a mask off, and I suddenly realised that although I was at the wrong funeral, I actually knew the person whose funeral it was.
What's the chances of that?
So I said, I'm here, I'll sit through it. So I went out, the way you go out the back way.
Yeah.
Said me condolences to everybody.
Yeah.
Then I went back down the front, and the girl who told me it was 2:00 was waiting to go in the 2:30 one. And I said, I thought you told me it was 2:00. She said, no, it was 2:30. She says, where have you just been? I said, I've just been in that one.
So you sat back and you went in the other one?
And we couldn't get into the one I went to originally. Couldn't get into.
Oh, because it's limited numbers.
It was limited numbers, so we just sort of waited outside to wait to come round. And we were standing outside the Kremlin stitches that were done, trying to be like somber. And
yeah, it's like it could have been worse, because you could have been going up to people that you had no idea who had died and saying, "Yeah, I'm really sorry for your loss." And that.
I was tempted to go on the 3:00 one as well, but I was just talking to somebody today about the same thing, and I work in a pub which is unfortunately shut down now. But we were getting like funerals every week, and one day this old woman come in and into the lounge, even though the funeral was in the function room.
Right.
And she sat there with a half a lager for half an hour, and slowly sipping it, kind of like never seen her before. And then she said to me, "Is the food out yet?" I went, "Oh yeah." I says, "Yeah, the food's out." So she went through, got a plate of food, come back in the lounge, and sit there eating them into the pork pie and the sandwiches. So I says, I just wonder who she was, or.
Oh, just like a crasher, probably, just... Because I do know a few people that worked at it was one of these venues outside. I'm not going to say where it is, because they might still be doing it. It just has an awful lot of weddings. And you know how they have like the afternoon do for the families in the close, and then at the night time, big buffet and a disco usually for the family. We're talking normal times, not obviously at the moment. And they say, about every second weekend, we go down for the the wedding discos, and I said, "Well, do you know who's getting married?" No, it doesn't matter. And they just go down for a dance and a free nosh, and they seem to get away with it.
That happened a few years ago. We had a wedding on one Saturday night, and I noticed this couple at the buffet, but I knew they were notorious shoplifters.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like helping themselves to the food, you know.
Yeah.
And putting one plate on top of the other. So I went to the bride. I says, you know that couple there? She went, no. So I says, where's your husband? So he's there. I says, do you know who they are down there? He went, no. I says, I don't know. I says, well, neither does your wife. They're pinching your food. I says, do you want me to sort it out? Or do you want to? And he was a big lad. He went, I'll sort it out. And off he went to chase this couple with the 2 plates of food. You know? People throw nerve for anything.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But the thing is, it seems the more nerve you have, the more likely it is you're going to get away with it. That's how it's.
Did you have any trouble like that at your wedding, so?
Well, I've had a lot of weddings, and judging by how little money I've got now, it must have happened a hell of a lot. I'm guessing. But hey, lovely talking to you. Thanks for coming on.
Cheers, Alan.
Good man.
Take care, mate.
There you go, Richie in Weshy. 0191 488 3188. Has it happened to any of your functions? Because people will crash anything if they get the chance. 0191 488 3188. Just rang a bell. Something else has rung a bell. Can you remember? It can't just have been me. Can you remember wedding day chuckouts? What's a wedding day chukkout? I'll tell you. If there was a wedding in your street, this is the joy that is the Northeast. When I was little, if there was a wedding, the car would pull up either outside their door or at the top of the street if there wasn't a road down the middle. And my particular street didn't have a road down the middle. Somebody got married, they had to walk in their wedding frock right the way up to the top of the street or the bottom of the street, where the wedding car, never usually hired, usually some friend's big car with a couple of ribbons tied on. And then before the bride drove off, she'd wind the window down and chuck a load of coins, usually, not pound coins, didn't have them back then, but every other kind of big coin. I'm going to use some words now that modern day children will go, non comprendo. And that is threepenny bits, half crowns, sixpences, shillings. See what I mean? We're talking, and then Queen Victoria died. So we've got all of this change used to go up in the air, and all the kids used to run down and try and grab whatever they could. Big kid howking all the smaller kids to get the more expensive ones. And then we realised that every Saturday, pretty much, there were weddings at local churches around. So we used to trawl around the different churches, going inside to see what time weddings were on, and the addresses of the people were actually on there, so we could go to where brides were going. It was a business. It was quite effective for a while. It kept me in comics and sweets. There you go. 0191 488 3188. Am I the only person that remembers that? Those kind of things? Surely not. Hang on. This lass will know. It's Jean! Hello, Jean!
Hello.
I've missed you. How are you doing?
Not very well.
Oh, what's wrong?
I'm on my dizzy spells.
You're on your piles.
No, I said dizzy spells.
Oh, dizzy spells.
Bad.
Oh, no.
No, vertigo.
Oh, you got vertigo.
Yeah.
But you don't live up anywhere, do you?
What?
You don't live like upstairs somewhere, do you?
No. Longer than man.
So, I mean, vertigo's only when you go up somewhere, isn't it?
No, man. There's lots of balance here.
Oh, you lose your balance.
Yes.
This isn't gin, is it, Jean?
Yes.
It is gin.
Yes.
It's gin. Gin. Like gin and tonics.
Oh, shut up, you silly
No, I'm
man.
just asking, because that makes you wobbly as well.
No, I don't think it.
You don't think it's gin?
No.
Right, okay. Fair enough.
That's in here. And it's in here. And
Right.
they just stick it.
And they can't get rid of the infection.
No, you've got 2 tablets.
Right.
Haven't all the time. For a long time.
Because I know you fell over and you were rolling round the street with the wind and what have you.
No.
That wasn't
just
good.
Push I banged my head
You
on
banged
the
your head.
bottle.
I know. I know. So, but how come they haven't got rid of the infection? I thought it was just like a course of antibiotics, and you were.
Got some, so Proxylin, the Proxylin tablets. Proxylin. What's that, Joe?
Profilim.
Proxylin.
Prosophyllin.
Uh,
Profephyllin.
Proxylin.
Profophyllin.
Oh, man, stop.
I'm just trying to say what you're saying.
Proxylin.
Profophyllin.
Oh, man, shut up,
I'm
man.
just saying, is it profophyllin?
Proxylin.
Profophyllin.
No.
No.
Proxylin.
Peroxylim.
That's it.
Peroxylim.
That's it.
Right. And that stops you being wobbly.
Yes.
Right. Oh, that's good then. So, but other than the wobbliness, are you all right? I mean, you haven't had any of this covidity or anything, have you?
No, not.
Oh, well, that's all right then. Because you're at risk, obviously, if you've got an infection thing. Oh, that's no good. We don't want you being poorly or anything. Are you getting all your food okay? Are you still managing to get out?
Yeah, did I? It was bad last year because I know what that's bad. And my grandmother, the messages first. My grandmother comes up to the messages first.
Right. Your grandmother comes up?
No, my granddaughter.
Oh, your granddaughter? I was going to say, hell's teeth, if your grandmother came up, she'd be about 140 by now.
Granddaughter, man.
Granddaughter, oh, that's all right. That works, I understand.
It's a phone.
Right, yeah.
I come tomorrow.
She's coming tomorrow. That's good.
My daughter comes tomorrow.
I wish I was.
And my
Right.
little granddaughter comes. Little great-granddaughter. She's lovely. She's lovely.
Right, oh, that's nice. So but you're not getting out much then?
I try on a taxi.
Oh, just in a taxi. So you're still managing to get in the shops without falling over?
No, don't fall
Or do you just
over.
hang onto a trolley, I guess, would help?
Yes, I want to follow.
Right.
So,
Right.
be some-
If your granddaughter's on, you can sit in the trolley.
Yeah, no.
No?
Yvonne, no, she can't sit in the trolley.
She can't pull your trolley?
Hmm.
No? Okay.
I've got a shopping trolley. It's got a handle. Under the trolley itself. It's my hands free. It's my hands free.
It's hands-free?
My hands free. Hands free. When I go and trip hands, I got a taxi back.
Right. I understand.
I've been-
So you get all your bits and then you bring them back in the taxi.
Yeah.
That's good. As long as they're looking after you. Anything else then, Jean?
Say something. What's on the Trump now? Is he out? Is Trump getting out? White House?
Trump's fighting to raise as much money as he can, but he's on his way. He knows he's on his way. He's just hanging in there to be a spoiler, really, as much as anything. Yeah. Nah, Nee, boss. But hey, Jean, lovely talking to you. Thank you for coming on. What?
Is your books in the shop? Is your books in the shop?
It should be in Waterstones,
Oh, God,
or you can get it online because
Well-
everything's shut at the minute. This is the thing.
Oh,
Right.
Well,
Well,
No.
They say that the places that are non-essential, they'll be open again on the 1st of
I love
December.
Your books, so.
Well, bless
I
you.
love all your books.
Good.
And they're short type. And I come on anyway.
Well, I know I'm just miss you. As long as
know.
you're all right, that's the main thing.
Okay,
Lovely talking to you,
Young
darling.
Jennifer, all right?
Jen's fine. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So there you go. Going to play a piece of music in a second. And then talk to James about mesh. I think somebody knows about mesh. Thank heavens for that. Now, very quickly, 4 clues. Clue number 1, James Bond has 2 of these before 7. Second clue, the Beatles said she loves you and then said this word 3 times. Third clue, a place in school, a gym or a swimming baths where you can secure your valuables. Put your clothes and stuff. And the fourth clue, count to 4 in Spanish. Okay, you might have to look that up. Count, Hollywood McShane doesn't he used to live in Spain when he was trying to avoid the police. So, say count to 4 in Spanish, because all 4 words are in this song. So technically you've got 7 words to play with. And I'll give you 9 more. 2, 3, 4. Stick around, I'll tell you more. What's the name of the song? Big hit, really annoying, really irritating. 01914 488 3188. It was another version of a very nice song, beautifully done, from the 50s and 60s, redone in a kind of wacky way that worked for the moment, became a big hit. But what was it called? And who was it by? And if you know, give us a call right now.